Coming to you live here from Staria Farms, a 5-star rated based on 3 review farm here in Dharmaram Main Road, China Laxmapuram, Dharmaram, Telangana. We're here in Hyderabad, India, with the continuation of the Korea Closed Qualifiers of StarsWar. Number 11. I am, of course, your host, Yaku of the Zakus, and with me today is El Baja Blaster que no necesita tiritas, Light _ VIP. How we doing, Light?
What's up, Yaku? It's great to be back once again. As you mentioned, this is day number 2 of the Korea Closed Qualifier. Yesterday, we were live, of course, covering the first round of matches, and no one has been eliminated yet. No one has been removed from the event as of yet, but today that changes as we have some upper bracket matches and some lower bracket matches as well. It looks like we've actually shifted some of these matches around, and it looks like our first best of 3 is actually Gumiho versus Beyond.
Yeah, gonna be the lower upper bracket semifinals. it's gonna be a upper bracket semifinals, which, you know, math has never been my strong suit, Light, but I do believe that since the top 3 players will be
preferred here by the players, especially because the new maps are very, very fresh off the presses, so not a lot of experience on these newer maps, but at least we'll be featuring Crimson Court in game number 2.
Indeed we will. I believe that was Björn's pick as well, so yeah, I do appreciate that, Björn. It looks like Gumiho actually vetoing Golden Aura here, so one of the few maps that have been carried over from the previous map pool is not something that we're going to be seeing, so thanks, Gumiho.
Yeah, there we go. Gumiho is
yeah, we're forced to look at least one new map.
Exactly. He's opening things up for us at least a little bit here, and it makes sense. Golden Aura has a short resistance by ground. You can be quite aggressive on it, but here we go. We're diving into game number 1. We're diving into our first best of 3 of the night.
Yep, and over here at the top, at the bottom, I was too slow. Anyway, in the top right, you got our Blue Terror player from Korea representing Cloud9. That's Gumiho. You can see him over there. He's got the jersey on. And beautiful. In
the bottom left, we have a Beyond for Shopify Rebellion as well. Again, you got to be quick with your just spam. You got to be quick with the clean feed. They don't let it sink in. You know, they don't marinate their meats. They just eat it raw.
Ooh, they do. I've been spoiled by having you and Kuro be the observers the last few times I casted.
The last couple of years, you know, it's true, Papi, true. But yeah, we're selling into our TVT, and you know, we would love to dive into the new maps. We can't quite do that yet, but we can dive into the new patch, and TVT is one of the matchups that has been influenced and impacted by the new patch.
Indeed. Looks like Cyclones are finally coming off meta, so whew. Thank you, Balanced Council.
Yeah, I mean, the Cyclone has been changed quite a bit, and you can still make a couple in the early game just to be safe. I'm talking like 1 or 2, but mass Cyclone like what we saw in months past, it is unlikely to see again. In TVT, it's most likely to be phased out. I say most likely because it's still early days of the new patch, and I'm sure our players are still kind of feeling out the new units and what you can get away with and what you can't get away with.
Indeed, which is why I'm glad that we are going to be seeing, or one of the first TVTs that we're going to be able to cast here in the new patch is going to be between Gumiho and Björn. You know, a Terran player, on the one hand, a Terran player who is very experimental and known for just trying things out and doing whatever, and on the other hand, a very, very aggressive Terran player.
Oh, exactly.
Who just loves to get in right up into your face and has the potential to thrive here in the earlier days of the fresh patch.
Yeah, and I feel like this benefits Beyond a little bit more, as he's going to be getting across the map. Or I say that Gumiho is going to be getting across the map, threading that mineral line, threading that Reaper. It looks like Gumiho shoots first.
It's very rare to see Björn be the player to lose a Reaper battle, and I didn't think that the day where he lost a Reaper battle to Gumiho would occur this soon.
And there we go. So a nice little pick off there by Gumiho. Able to gain some map control here, able to gain control of the low ground, but the Hellion has arrived. Even with the Reaper advantage, Gumiho, he has to respect the production here of Bjorn and will be backing off. But again, he did kind of just drop the opener as he tries to slip into towards that natural.
Yeah, I do like that little sneaky maneuver here from Bjorn, sending his one Reaper back home and then having the Hellion to just herd Gumiho's Reaper into him. If he's doing it again. Oh, but this time, Gumiho, he's got a sneaky Reaper. Nope, never mind. Getting cut out.
Yeah, he will be caught out, he will be shut down, and the game is going to be settling a little bit from here. We do have those Cyclones on the way, but again, we're not amassing Cyclones like we otherwise would have. We're going to be able to pick off at least one of these Hellions, so not a bad pick off here by Gumiho. And can he delay the CC on low ground? It looks like he might be able to, just barely.
Yeah, he already delayed it a little bit earlier on, and now it's starting to stack up quite a bit. Gumiho's second base orbital command is already about halfway done, and Bjorn still struggling a lot to actually get the second base up and running. Gumiho has not stopped that Cyclone production, by the way. He's sending more of them across the map. Yeah,
we have a medevac in production as well, so Gumiho going for an old school build. I say old school, you know, in the previous patch, I should say.
2 months ago build.
exactly a week ago build, as he's amassing Cyclones. Meanwhile, we did see that Bjorn threw down a second rack, so he's playing Bio. I was going to say that I want to give the edge to Bjorn just because he already was avoiding mass Cyclone, right? Like, we've been discussing it recently, how Bjorn has been playing this more Bio heavy style, so he won't have to adjust too much in the new patch, but maybe he's not quite expecting this as Gumiho has arrived.
Yeah, he may have the edge in my heart, but yeah, it's not really, that doesn't necessarily translate to effectiveness in game.
As Gumiho, he does push forward. He is going to apply a bit of pressure here with these Cyclones. Just forced back for a moment there as well, but it looks like with these Cyclones, he won't be able to quite break through. Meanwhile, he's continuing Cyclone production back at home. We have a Banshee on the way as well. Gumiho even investing into Cloak.
Yeah, very committed to keeping this up. Gumiho really wants to maintain this map control, really wants to, as long as possible, contain Bjorn on these two bases. He's even trying to capitalize on top of this by getting a much quicker third base. This is a straight up, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this, but yeah, this is a straight up 1-1-1 into a third CC coming out from Gumiho.
And not just into a third CC, but into mech, as that is 2 more factories on the way. We can see that Gumiho is not just starting a Cyclone production, he's not going to stop, as he's committing here to mass Cyclone into that mech style. Meanwhile, he's going to be harassing across the map. His goal here is to keep Bjorn pinned back at home. I'm concerned though, because Bjorn is soon going to be moving out. Once Stim kicks in, once he gets his medevacs, Bjorn is going to be active on the map, but can Gumiho stop that from happening, as he's doubling down, even investing into Banshee speed?
Yeah, he really wants to keep committed to this quirky little mech style that he's got for himself here. I will say this though, for Gumiho, he's already done a really good job of slowing down Bjorn's build. Bjorn, he's going to be pushing out, but at most he's going to have, what, 1 tank? By the time, I mean, Stim's already done. Ordinarily, you want to be pushing across the map with 1 or 2 tanks with Stim by now.
Exactly. So as you pointed out, Bjorn, he has been disrupted here in his opener, in his build, and now he's going for a double drop. As he moves out with the double drop though, here come those Banshees right for that main base.
And there is no detection right now. Bjorn does have scans available, but the majority of his Marines are out on the map. 2 Cyclones coming out right now, and this is already a lot of lost SCBs. Really good control here. And target firing coming out from Gumiho. Will lose 1 Banshee, but they have more than paid for themselves. A double drop of Bjorn completely chased away by the Cyclones of Gumiho.
Yeah, Gumiho is in position. He does affect that drop. 10 SCVs, 11 SCVs go down across the map. Very nice damage dealt here by Gumiho. Very well worth 1 Banshee, but as I say that, both Banshees go down. Still worth of a Gumiho, but not as impactful, not as valuable as they otherwise would have been. And he is getting his third base up running. Again, Bjorn, he wants to be active, but he's still yet to really apply much pressure across the map at all.
Yeah, this has been just a fantastic game coming out from Gumiho so far. Bjorn has been completely staggered. Gumiho has just completely recognized how Bjorn typically likes to play this matchup. Very aggressive, very up in his opponent's faces, and has just prevented him from getting into that game that he likes to get into so often.
I mean, honestly, Bjorn's pretty all in, and he's going for a Doom drop. We do have turrets finishing up in the main base. They're ready for the drop, by the way. We will be boosting in towards that natural. No, we go straight for the main.
1 medevac, practically full of Marines, already goes down, and there's basically nothing here for Bjorn. GG is called. Gumiho takes a very solid game number 1.
GG, well played. Again, Bjorn, he was all in, as we mentioned. He was just crippled so badly there when it came to his economy. It was all or nothing. Doom drops into the main base, but Gumiho was ready for it. And Gumiho looking strong in game 1.
Yeah, strong, solid. Again, just looks like he knew exactly how to counter everything Bjorn likes to do. We may have a new patch coming on our hands, and at times that can be a little bit of a disadvantage. It can be an advantage to a player who just doesn't care about patches and just sticks to something that's always going to be solid since the beginning of since the launch of the game up until now. But somehow finding these little kinks in Bjorn's armor.
Yeah, very interesting playstyle out of Gumi. See what happens, right? We can see his opponent snowball out of control. Is unique in its own way and has mineral walls, has pocket bases, has a way to rush, a way to be aggressive. Just very dynamic maps. There's a bit of a give and take where the new maps specifically are they seem to be, again, just very unique and very aggressive in general. And there are no new standard maps, which, I mean, take that how you will, but yeah, it's an interesting map pool that we have on our hands.
I'll take it. Anyway, in the top right, Blue and Korea represent Cloud9 Devils Gumiho.
In the bottom left, we have Bjorn for Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah. Timed it.
Here we go, and this is what we spoke about. I don't know if you can see the minimap, but the rush distance on Crimson Court is insanely straightforward and insanely short as well. There are these mineral walls, and again, every new map has mineral walls in some capacity, so you can kind of mine through and you can gain access to an entire other section of the map. But at least in the early game, again, the rush distance and the attack path is very straightforward, and we are going for a proxy 2-racks.
Yeah, Bjorn going to be taking full advantage of that rush path. It's been a while, since I've seen a rush path that was literally just one straight line.
It's
just one straight line,
Yeah, it's just
no slow zones in between, no snaking around, no nothing.
It's just a line. You just walk across the map, you get across there, you get into the face of your opponents. The reactors, the reactors are on the way, but Gumiho with the hard counter going for his own 2-racks in his main base.
Yeah, this is... I mean, you said it best. It is the hot counter to this. Bjorn going to be relying a lot more on his own Reaper control. Gumiho hasn't quite spotted the barracks yet, but he is keeping safe. He is going to make it a little bit more difficult for those Reapers to jump up this ramp and to get on top of Gumiho. Once again, there is still a path to victory here for Bjorn, but he really needs to out-micro Gumiho super hard by like 1,000%, as Gumiho is just making things so much easier for himself.
It's just such a good read here by Gumiho, and going for a 2-racks opener is designed to shut down early proxies and aggression from your opponent. So a really strong start here from Gumiho. He hasn't seen what's going on. He does have a depot. I think that may even be blocking off that Reaper cliff. It may be like a single unit long. We'll see as, it looks like we slip in.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Gumiho, he was a little bit out of position with his own Reaper. And so he will be starting to lose the Reaper battle right now.
Yeah, we trade one for one.
Yeah, Gumiho has the option to pull his SCVs, but even still, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, again, thankfully it was a 1-for-1 trade, and it looks like Gumiho is going to be able to shut this down, able to chase this all the way back here, cleans up the final Reaper, and we're heading towards the factory. As we mentioned before, again, this build choice of Gumiho is primed to defend against early proxies, just as we said, or just as we can see here, and yeah, Gumiho, he's going to be able to survive this and get into a longer game.
Yeah, super important for Gumiho here to have produced these handful of Marines. Again, they produce so much quicker than Reapers do. And as long as you have one Reaper surviving, these Marines are practically Widow Mines. They're zoning tools in the Reaper fight.
Yeah, and Gumiho is across the map as well. There's nothing to defend here. Boys are being pulled. We delay the factory for so long. One SCV goes down, second SCV as well, and Bjorn is forced to race all the way back home. And Bjorn, he will eventually transition out of this, but again, he's going to be far more delayed.
Yeah, a lot slower compared to Gumiho's own production. Gumiho's factory has finished up already. I was kind of expecting him to go for Hellions here, but I guess he assessed the situation correctly. He knows that the Reaper fights are over. He doesn't need to create them. Cyclone is going to keep him much safer and provide him a little bit more versatility here.
Yeah, especially if Beyond were to rush into a 1-1 into a Banshee to try to bounce back, right? We're just playing it very safe here from Gumiho. Reapers are trying to disrupt that natural base. They're going to be able to get a couple of hits in, but we bleed out another one of those Reapers, and Beyond is going to be forced back. Gumiho will get his natural base on location.
Indeed. And not too far behind from Beyond's, actually. Going to be a little bit faster than Beyond's, as it turns out.
Oh yeah, quite a bit faster. It's already being morphed into an orbital as we speak. Again, Gumiho, he's ahead with his factory, ahead with his tech, ahead with his economy as well. And he gets across the map. Can he even try to pick up a couple more SCVs here? It's going to be close. We do have some units in the vicinity, but it looks like we get at least a couple of SCV kills.
That's going to be 3. And that's going to be Gumiho pulling ahead when it comes to the worker count. Now 30 to 25. Absolutely huge in a mirror matchup this early on.
Oh yeah, a massive economic lead here for Gumiho, and now the pressure is on Beyond. I mean, the pressure has been on Beyond the entire game, essentially. He has to try to bounce back in some way, shape, or form, and there are ways to bounce back, you know, draw play, maybe rushing it or outpositioning your opponent in a TVT. It's very possible in the mid-game. There are ways to bounce back, but it is an uphill battle for Beyond.
Absolutely. And now we're actually kind of seeing Gumiho pull a little bit from Beyond's book. Beyond just trying to chip away and see whatever he can get done here, which, I mean, the answer is not much. Gumiho just has so much more production. He's been producing much longer, so, I mean, the army supply difference really tells you everything. Beyond needs to equalize somehow, but he just doesn't have the firepower to do so.
He really does not, as he might be able to pick off a depot. You know, that's something at least going Beyond's way behind this, getting into his tank production. As you mentioned, Gumiho, he's about to finish up with his stim. Once stim is done, once the medevacs are done, then he can move out across the map, and it's going to be a tough hold for Beyond.
Yeah, that's definitely putting it lightly. I think there are positions here that Beyond can really take advantage of, but again, Gumiho, there's no pressure on Gumiho right now to dive into Beyond. And hold on a second. Oh, as Gumiho is the first player to react and unload his medevacs. That would have been an opportunity for Beyond to equalize, but Gumiho was just faster this time.
Yeah, it was faster to react. He shuts down the drop. We do see a Cyclone drop here towards the natural base. Good juggling here out of Beyond. Able to trade well. Even has that Liberator in the main as well. Is getting some damage done, but Gumiho's moving out. Gumiho, that drop is across the map, and he wants to commit. He wants to try to get some kind of counter damage.
Yeah, there's a tanky position here behind the base of Beyond. But not in a great position. Tank is trying to get a little bit closer, but as it unsieges, that just opens up the Marines of Gumiho to dive on in and stim forward. It looks like a bit of a miscalculation here from Gumiho. Will be losing the bulk of his Marines, and yeah, now it's getting chased back by the defensive reinforcements of Beyond.
Yeah, Gumiho is forced back. He did kill a tank though, so again, a better trade here for Gumiho, trading Marines out for a tank. So he will maintain his tank lead as he does a retreat for the time being. And we'll see if Gumiho decides to throw down a third. We'll see if he decides to work towards a third base and try to get into the mid game, or if he wants to go for the kill and move out with his main army and try to stop Beyond before it could really get going.
Yeah, Beyond has now basically equalized when it comes to the income. He's not too far behind when it comes to the SCV count, but like you said, this game is still in the ball is still in Gumiho's court. He is the player who can afford to dictate the pace of the game. He has the map control, and yeah, it looks like he's going to continue to be aggressive with it.
Yeah, as he is moving out across the map, the army is spotted again. Gumiho does have the tank lead overall, so in a head-on fight, I want to give the edge to Gumiho. But it also depends on who's able to siege up first, who's able to outposition the other, as we are headed towards that main base, and we are within range of the combat shields.
And that's going to be a massive boost for Gumiho once again. His Marines are just going to be that much better than Beyond's. Beyond really cannot afford to misposition or miscontrol anything from this point forward. He's down 10 army supply, and he's got the same unit composition as Gumiho.
Yeah, at least Beyond does have the Viking lead. We saw there that he was able to clean up all the Vikings of Gumiho and maintain that overall Viking and air superiority, so that is something going Beyond's way. But as Beyond is contained on 2 bases, Gumiho is expanding. He's getting his 3rd base on location. It's almost done at this point, so Gumiho is extending his economic lead. Beyond has to break out, and he is going for a drop.
Yeah, very committed drop. That's 2 medevacs full of Marines being sent across the map. 1 additional medevac as well that doesn't have that much in it, but still will be able to go across the map, and that was a full medevac that just got taken out by the Vikings of Gumiho.
Exactly.
Unfortunate placement here for Bjorn.
Yeah, full medevac goes down. We're going to be able to clean this up as well. The Vikings, they turn back around, they take down another medevac, and yeah, we barely have any survivors here from Bjorn. He does have to retreat. That was an expensive loss from him, and we spoke about it earlier about how Bjorn can't afford these losses. Not here, not right now, not after the early game. So this is still an uphill battle. This is still Bjorn trying to overcome this deficit.
And it's going to be tough. Gumiho, yeah, just maneuvering around the map. He just wants to make sure that Bjorn never feels comfortable and is never really able to break out from this position and to reciprocate the damage. Which I think is really smart here from Gumiho. He knows that, sure, he may be ahead when it comes to the army supply, but Bjorn has not been neglecting tank production whatsoever. Gumiho, the one way Gumiho can really throw his lead in this game is to just stim up a ramp into these 2, 4, 6 tanks.
100%, right? Like, Bjorn can take a fight. As you mentioned, like, his tank gun is looking quite healthy, and if Bjorn is able to catch Gumiho off guard, if he's able to catch him out of position, then Bjorn can win a fight. But that does rely on Gumiho making a big mistake. And will that mistake happen? We do have a triple shot moving out towards the left. It looks like Gumiho is going for a split push. Can he pull Bjorn apart, or will he be pulled apart in the process?
Yeah, this is always the essential question. Bjorn continuing to play things safe, getting that sensor tower by that golden mineral wall. And this is, again, kind of playing into Gumiho's hand a little bit. Gumiho is more than content to allow Bjorn to turtle up while he just expands on the map.
Yeah, we have some interesting deviations here. So, as you mentioned, like, Bjorn, he survives. He gets his third base up and running, and we're going to be able to turtle up and max out. But Gumiho, he is quite far ahead here in these upgrades. 2-2 just now starting up here for Bjorn. 2-2 well on the way for Gumiho, so there's going to be an upgrade timing available for the blue Terran player. But we're just building up, getting another base, and I mean, sure, there's a nice upgrade advantage here for Gumiho, a nice upgrade lead, but soon the supply lead is going to be non-existent. Soon Bjorn is going to be able to catch up.
And with arguably a more efficient army, here's a math question for you, Light. What's the point of diminishing returns when it comes to tanks, TVT?
Oh, that's a good... It all depends on how spread thin you are, right? Like, sure, you can have a lot of tanks and they can be solid, but right now, Gumiho, he is repositioning, right? You can see him spreading his tanks out between all of his bases. So it isn't actually quite likely that they're all going to be actually in position for that big fight when it does occur.
Yeah. If eventually it's going to occur.
Maybe, we'll see. We'll see, as it looks like we're taking to the skies here, which I do appreciate from Gumiho. He's maintaining his tech lead by throwing down 2 more starports. We have a fusion core on the way. This is going to be for Viking Liberator. We speak about this quite a lot here, where TVT, it's all about the tanks, right? Initially, it's all about like the tank v tank, but then it quickly becomes about the Viking and Liberator versus Viking and Liberator. Then it becomes about the air control and the air battle. That does supersede, or that does surpass what tanks really do afford.
Speaking of tanks, here comes Bjorn right across the map, taking out a decent chunk of Gumiho's Marines. Gumiho, though, very well fortified here in this rich Vespid base. There's no way Bjorn's going to be able to not just break that, but even maneuver past in those little valleys or those ravines that the tanks are actually within range of.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the map, we have a little bit of a moment here to look at it, and there are quite a number of ravines, as you mentioned, quite a number of locations like this one where it looks so difficult to actually push through an entrenched position. So I don't envy Bjorn here. He's trying to be active, he's trying to move out, but he doesn't find a way in, but he is going for a Doom Drop here on the right-hand side.
He's trying to bait Gumiho into an unfavorable position while he sends his Marines and his tanks into this natural base, just dives on through that missile turret, not quite able to get the... Okay, there we go. He gets the Liberator, and he actually is able to keep most of his Marines alive as well. We were talking about the tanks not quite being in position for a big fight, and this is exactly what we were talking about. You know, Gumiho, he had all his tanks, all his guns pointing towards those ravines. Not too many of them here to defend back home.
Yeah, there was an opening, and Beyond was able to exploit it, getting 10 worker kills. The Marines, they're trying to collapse on this. It looks like this will be cleaned up, but again, a very efficient trade here by Beyond, and he's not done. He's dropping into the main base, gets another tank, almost, not quite, but also gets a full scout as well, and he does confirm that fusion core.
Yeah, he knows how committed Gumiho is going to be when it comes to that air transition. The upgrades were also equalized for the majority of that drop as well, so really good timing here from Beyond. All of a sudden, Gumiho's advantages are starting to diminish and kind of shrink away.
Ooh, a big tank volley is going up here in the center. Once again, so many tanks of Gumiho out of position, barely out of range. We take down the mineral line, we threaten that planetary, and Beyond, he's pulling Gumiho apart.
Yeah, he has been down so long in this game, but now that he's finally been able to equalize the supply, now that he's been able to get into his own production, it's like you said, he's picking him apart. He knows exactly how to find these little gaps in Gumiho's armor where his tanks aren't quite in position for him to just smash straight on forward. But hold on a second, because Gumiho still has a very healthy Liberator count.
Oh, exactly that air control we spoke about. That's something well in favor of Gumiho. Dives on the army, Marines still on forward, but the tanks, they do hold their own, and Beyond, he does barely come out on top in that fight. But as you mentioned, there's no answer to these Liberators. We cannot push in.
That we cannot, and Gumiho's tank count, sure, he lost a bunch of them that were a little bit isolated earlier on, but he's still got plenty of them around. He can still zone away these Marines and allow the Liberators to really push Beyond's tanks back.
Yeah, freedom has arrived, and Gumiho is able to fight back, able to bounce back here with the help of those liberation zones. At the same time, Beyond trying to outposition said Liberators. Again, they're not the most mobile units here, very similar to tanks in that sense, and we do actually find ourselves within range of the planetary, and it looks like it should go down.
Yeah, it should go down, and all of these Liberators are isolated from the tanks. Marines are going to be stimming on forward, taking out another tank as well. Liberators do survive. It looks like Gumiho will be able to chase this back. Those are some very good trades for Beyond. But at the very least, Gumiho has been able to keep the backbone of his army alive. You know, these Liberators and the majority of his tanks.
Yeah, but now Gumiho, he's lost a base, he's lost a lot of those libs, as you mentioned. We do still have a healthy tank count for Gumiho. Like, his main army is still formidable, don't get me wrong, but Beyond, he is overwhelming. Again, he's maxing out, he's taking his own fourth base, maxing out on mainly Marines, but he's again done so much with them.
Yeah, even able to get a Marine bomb here and there. I have to wonder if it would be worth it for Beyond here to maybe throw in a couple of Marauders into the mix to be able to, you know, stim on forward against the tanks.
It would be amazing. It would be a really nice addition, but I'm pretty sure he has like purely reactors on his Raxes. Like he's just pumping out pure Marine right now, and
he's 15 Marines at a time. Yeah, you're right. Like
that's a lot of reactors, Papi, and he's spending his gas elsewhere, working towards, and he is still frames, has like auto tracking. Now he's working on his Viking transition into Liberators with those two starports on the way, and once again he copper bombs here on top of the tanks, takes down two of them already with a handful of Marines. Very nice pick off here by Beyond.
Yeah, very perceptive here of Beyond to recognize that Gumiho, he's investing a lot into his Vikings, he's investing a lot into his Liberators, so he actually doesn't have much of a buffer here for his tanks. He has so many more Marines, my lord. This is almost like watching a TVZ, except somebody gave Zerglings guns.
I mean, again, this is just how Beyond approaches TVT. It's built a little bit different, going for a very Marine-heavy style. That's a sea of Marines looking to dive up this ramp, and we don't quite commit to it. Again, the positioning here is a little bit too good. Gumiho does reestablish his fort.
I just realized that Gumiho doesn't have Liberator range. I think he's just realized it as well, because production on that has just begun, and this is really hurting him a lot. This is allowing Beyond to really get on top of these Liberators, and really not allowing Gumiho to take advantage of this dead air. There's very little dead air on this map to begin with.
Yeah, that's a huge oversight here, and it is an oversight. I mean, the fusion core finished like 5, 6, 7 minutes ago. We dive on top of the army. We're the Marines, by the way. 4 or 5 tanks go down. Very efficient trade here by Beyond, and big pickoffs.
He will eventually be chased back, but like you said, it's a very efficient trade for him. He's still got this back line of tanks that is going to prevent Gumiho from really getting on top of him, and Beyond can afford to throw away these Marines as long as he picks off 3, 4, 5 tanks at a time. He's still producing 12 Marines at a time, and he can more than afford this. He has so many more bases than Gumiho. GG is called. You can see Gumiho kind of sighing a little bit there. He had this game. He was so far ahead. He had such a great start, but Bjorn's just sheer tenacity brought him forward throughout this see that got completely shut down. But here we go, game number 3 in the bottom right, the blue Terra player from Korea representing Cloud9. It's Gumiho.
And in the top left of side Delta, we have Bjorn for Shopify. And as we settle into game number 3, into the ace match, by the way, the final game of this series, a big shout out to Jeff Bezos in the chat for resubscribing with Twitch Prime for 11 months. Almost a year of support. Gracias, papi, gracias, Quack. Thank you so much for the Twitch sub. Thank you.
Quack, quack. Muchas gracias, Senor Jeff. I just realized that that's how it's meant to be pronounced.
Well, how are you pronouncing it?
Jeff Bezos.
God damn it, Jakub. God
I
damn
just
it.
realized that was meant to be like a play.
Yeah,
And that other pronunciation, yeah.
like Shakespeare.
Exactly. Chashipia.
Beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, thank you so much. And again, we're just settling into game number 3. Gumi has been looking pretty good this entire series. Even game number 2 where he lost, like he had a strong start as you mentioned. But clearly we can see here that even if Bjorn falls behind, he is not one to count out, that in TVT you can bounce back. When it came to the moment that Bjorn did bounce back, if you remember, it was that Doom drop, right? It was when he went for, I think it was a quadruple drop on the right hand side, and he moved in towards the left hand side with his main army as well. And with that one singular move, he was able to just break Gumiho apart, get so much damage done, and that was the beginning of the comeback for Bjorn.
Absolutely. I mean, getting his cert base was one thing, but he was still behind in practically every regard. Like you said, when he was finally able to reciprocate that damage, he was trying so hard from the very start of the game. The minute he got shut down, the minute his 2 barracks proxy got shut down, he was fighting that uphill battle. There was no way he was going to be able to out macro himself from that position. He had to find damage, and Gumiho, for the longest time, was doing such a great job of denying Bjorn these openings until we got to the mid to late game. Until, like you said, Gumiho positioned all of his tanks at that fort base and didn't have anything really back at home, back in his natural base, which was still pretty fresh. Still had about 12 or 13 workers worth of mineral patches on it.
And we'll see how Gumiho will adjust here in game number 3, just because every game so far he has been adapting and has been trying out different styles. Game 1, of course, was mech. Game 2 was more of a more traditional bio tank composition. Here in game 3, what do we have? As our players going to be expanding so far, we're pretty much mirroring each other here, getting into our 1-1-1s and getting into initially cyclones early on, just to be safe, just for earlier defense.
Yeah, you don't want to risk too much here on the ace match. Especially an ace match with this high stakes. I mean, it's still a best of 3, but because of how this tournament works, because the top 3 players overall will be qualifying for the offline event, this is already a qualifier.
Yeah.
If you lose this, you might not be eliminated, but you have to slog your way through that lower bracket for another shot.
Exactly. This is a qualifying match, and who will qualify? We do have a faster medevac here out of Bjorn. Bjorn with that medevac first is rushing across the map. We can see that Gumiho is going for a Viking first instead. That will help, but we'll see how much he has ready for this push, as Bjorn's going for the drop into the main, at the same time going for a bit of a run back here towards the natural.
Yeah, trying to hit the 1-2. As Gumiho, very quick to react, will pull back with his medevac that has 2 cyclones on it.
Yeah, we managed to get a
couple of medevac!
Oh, the medevac is going to get targeted down, and Bjorn leaves it idle. It's going to fall.
Attention a little bit elsewhere, a little bit too... at a place that isn't very worth it on these 2 Reapers that just weren't going to be able to get into that natural base regardless.
Yes.
Definitely not the start that Bjorn was looking for.
A bit of miscontrol there out of Bjorn. I think he was looking to try to rally it back, but maybe a bit of a misrally, a bit of miscontrol. Regardless, the medevac is going to be focused down, and just like that, Gumiho's early game is solid. Just like that, Gumiho, he gets away with his natural, and I don't know if you saw, but Gumiho, he's already got a third on the way as well.
I did not see that, but now I'm taking note of that in the production tab. Gumiho also playing a much more traditional TVT and actually opting for Ravens. I cannot believe that we had to wait until the Ace match to get a player to create Ravens, but here we are.
Yeah, Ravens and Interference Matrix as well, so Gumiho getting into a solo composition. Third CC is already done for Gumiho, by the way, and Gumiho throws down 2 more star... Wait, what?
What?
He's going up to triple starport.
Mass Raven?
I mean, he's gonna be going Mass Viking. Honestly, right now, if I saw these 2 starports on the way, I would assume it's a 2-base all-in, but he's got a 3rd base, so it's not an all-in at all. He's crazy.
This is possibly Gumiho looking too far forward into the future, but you know, thankfully with his 2 Cyclones, he is doing a pretty good job of keeping Bjorn back. Bjorn really would like to get right up on his face. What are the add-ons going to be? Tech Lab and... okay, a Tech Lab as well. So 2 Tech Labs and 1 Reactor on these 3 starports. Banshee is a possible... yeah, Banshee.
I mean, it's mech, right? There we go. Banshees are on the way. It is going to be mech once again here from Gumiho. For those who weren't here, we did play mech in game 1. Oh my, he's crazy. He's doing it all. He rushed into a gigafast 3rd base, going into double starport, triple starport production, into a ninja base.
And Ninja 4th as well. This is... yeah, definitely. The Ninja definitely makes a lot of sense when you're investing this hard into your starports. This isn't just your ordinary mech, by the way. This is Sky Terran.
Yeah.
And this is mid-game Sky Terran. That's a unit composition you normally transition into as the game goes forward, as you get your tier 2, tier 3 stages of tech and upgrades. Gumiho says, nah, you can skip all that. You don't need that foundation. Just,
I mean,
Banshees and tanks and Vikings.
So Gumiho might die here. Gumiho is very vulnerable. He's
very
vulnerable.
Likely, yeah.
He's got a handful of tanks. He does have Interference Matrix. To be fair, he has that Raven. If Gumiho can survive this push, Gumiho is going to be in a beautiful position, and already he shoots first.
He loses one of his tanks, and Bjorn doesn't lose any of his tanks, but there we go. The flank with the auto turrets completely shuts down this army of Bjorn. Look at that army supply difference now. Bjorn underestimating the power of the Raven.
Yeah, the Raven with help of those Vikings, everything gets cleaned up. We get some limited harass in the main base. Pretty good damage dealt here by Bjorn, but this is not worth losing his main army. Again, that was what, 3 tanks, 2 medevacs, so many Marines. Gumiho, sure, he's losing mining time in the main base, but he has a ninja base and an insanely fast 3rd. Like, he's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and now Bjorn's got to be scratching his head, trying to come up with a response. He's got to be wondering, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah, I mean, I do like this.
How do I counter this?
Yeah, Bjorn, he's going into a fast 4th base, which I do appreciate. I mean, it's later than his opponent, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know about the ninja base, doesn't know what Gumiho is up to right now. But I'm still worried here for Bjorn because Gumiho, he's just freestyling on him right now. Going into mass Banshee, Cloak alongside Banshee speed is done. We scan the main base, we get confirmation of what's going on. Ooh, the Banshees are a little bit too late to delay this AC though.
Yeah, but at least they do get confirmation, and they do take note of how vulnerable Bjorn is looking right now in that base in particular. 2 more factories on the way. This is, once again, the complete opposite of how you normally get into your Sky Terran, or your mech Sky Terran, but Gumiho, he's built a bit different, you know? He's Australian.
He is. Up is down, down is up, and we are going to be researching Hurricane engines as well. We just cut off Bjorn completely. Massive tank shots going to be going off on these Marines. As I say that, the tanks themselves are exposed, and we're going to be able to pick some of them up. But it's not going to be enough.
GG is called in the end. Gumiho is pumped, and he should be pumped because he is going to be our first player from the Korean qualifiers securing his break. I feel first. And we are back. Gonna be, oh lord, gonna be continuing our tournament today, our closed qualifiers for the Stars Wars number 11 here. Gonna be continuing in the lower bracket here with a bit of a TVP to determine who's gonna be facing Björn tomorrow. It's gonna be over here in the bottom left-hand corner of Post Youth, a blue Protoss player, stats, teamless.
And in the top right-hand corner for Team Liquid, it is Cure.
Nailed it.
Here we go. The new maps do continue. I don't know if you saw the videos, but I believe we're going to be featuring 2 of the new maps here in this best of 3, and I'm more than excited to dive into them. This is a very unique map. I mentioned before how a lot of these are very aggressive, very quirky, very cheesy. I'm going to add that to it because, I don't know if you noticed, you have 2 bases in your main.
You do. It was like a 2v2 map.
Yeah, it's like a 2v2
It's not quite a pocket base. It's, yeah.
And it's not just the second base, it's a gold. Oh wait, no, yeah, it's half a gold. Yeah.
Half gold, half blue. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
It's half not gold.
It's crazy. So basically you get a free natural. You get not just a free natural, but you get a free natural that's half a gold base as well. So because of that, that does give you a really big boost early on, mineral-wise. Likewise, allows you to defend very easily on 2 bases early on as well. And taking a third is going to be a little bit more secure. Your third is a little bit more exposed in your standard third base, true, but I mean, like, the setup here is crazy.
Well, know where I'm dropping. But this has been, I feel... Well, I don't know. I guess we need to see a couple more games on this map in particular, but this feels like a dream scenario for drop Terran players, or Terran players who are really dedicated to drop play.
Maybe. So,
as anyone who's played,
I'll go on.
Anyone who's played 2v2s knows just how out of control dropping into the main, if neither player is really keeping an eye on it, can really get.
Yeah, I'm curious how drop play is going to work. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is no dead air in the corner of the map. It looks like there is, but there isn't, so you have to be very careful. I remember casting the show match with for Jumi. Sorry, it wasn't the Jumi show match. It was I think it was the Gemini show match. But I think that may be I may be thinking of a different map actually. So never mind. I think there is dead space in the corner. I think there is.
Yeah, well. Yeah. Well, regardless, it's going to be a one-way ticket if you're going to be dropping.
Yeah, it may be here.
You're not getting out of there.
Reeve is going to be checking, but it is going to be a 1-1-1 opener here out of Cure. We do have our tech of choice from our Protoss, and it's going to be a Twilight Council from Stats.
Indeed, something very versatile, which I suppose makes sense for a map like this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Very versatile indeed. Reaper dips in. We do get eyes on the tech.
That he does, you know. Don't think too much is going to change here for Cure. He's still going to be going for his normal build, which is going to be a mine drop. Now, the mine changes have gone live, so we do still have that big, visible, much more visible line, and we do get a little bit of an alert if a Widow Mine burrows or lands beneath a mineral line or beneath... How does that work? Beneath a worker or beneath a mineral line? I think it's beneath a below. If a mine drops near a worker, then it gets alerted, right?
Yeah.
It's not the mineral itself.
Yeah, it's the burrow. The action of the burrow, I think, is what alerts. So
there we go.
Yeah, that is going to be a big factor as the mine drop is moving out. Another big part of this as well is, of course, the radius has been reduced and the damage on the radius has been reduced as well. We did actually see that yesterday when we were casting Hero in his PvT, and he was able to minimize his losses quite a bit against Cure, against Cure's drop play. So yeah, we'll see if Cure can have a little bit more success here, as he is going to be diving in towards that mineral line.
Yeah, focusing primarily on the gold base. Could be able to pick off 4 probes, which is not too bad. I mean, that's more probes than he than mines.
Yeah, there we go. 4 probes go down. We pick up. We get the hell out of there as well. So very nicely done. Meanwhile, sorry, it wasn't Hero versus Kuro. It was Hero versus Bjorn, where Bjorn was trying to make some mind jobs work. But Hero was having a really good defense against them. But here we're going to be settling in. Now, when it comes to the expansion pattern on this map, it is very interesting. There's another gold base that you can take as a 4th. But that center base you can take as a gold is very exposed. So it's very risky to try to expand in that direction.
Yeah, very exposed. It's not even quite those middle bases where you want to take them just to make sure you have a staging ground for later on down the line. Wouldn't mind catching another couple of probes. But in fact, finally being dealt with. Once again, pretty good damage here for Cure, forcing a lot of attention away here from Stats. Stats, meanwhile, very, very quick to invest into Templar Archives. He's researching Storm immediately. This is a 5-minute Storm that's coming down, which is a huge risk for him, considering how aggressive Cure is building right now. Stim about to be finished. He has way more army supply, and most of this army supply for Cure is in Marines and Marauders. If Stats is going to be able to land a Storm, he will be safe, but that's a very big if right now.
Yeah, Storm isn't going to be ready for this first push, and here we go. We are going to be committing behind this. We have a 3rd base on location for Cure, but he's moving out. He has been spotted by the observers. Can Stats hold on? Can he survive long enough to get into that Storm?
I choose to believe. I want to believe in the Shield of Ire right now as Cure decides to go for a drop, and there's already Stalkers to meet that. Not the best decision here from Cure. Fortunately, a little slow to pick up on the fact that Stats, he was ready for this.
Oh my god, the force fields as well. We clean up the Marines, we shut down the Reaper, we shut down the push in general. Very strong defense here. Honestly, if Cure had not gone for a drop, if he had just gone for a straight up push right towards the 3rd base, I think he could have done it. I think he could have broken through. Again, Storm just now finished. It would not have been done in time for the push. But Cure, he went for the drop, he gets shut down, and Stats survives.
He survives, and yeah, as you said, now Storm's done. He's got 4 High Templar out on the map that are going to be continuing to gain energy. He's getting into his tech, he's getting more gateways, and again, that's a half gold base that you have in your main, or in your main half, question mark? It's in your main, but it's not the main that you start with, you know?
It's the main base, you know? The main can be more than what it usually is. It's fine. It's like a thick main.
Yeah, it's the secondary main, you know?
It's the 2nd main.
It's the neck main.
Okay. Ooh, as a big mine shot going to be going up, getting 3 probe kills again. The radius was reduced, so doesn't get as much as we otherwise could have seen. Meanwhile, at the same time, Stats pushing on forward here, does avoid that mine shot, only connecting with those Zealots. And again, he still has plenty of High Templar hidden in that Prism as well. That's quite a hefty army that Stats is working with.
Yeah, a little bit of a fragile one, but one with a very, very high damage output. A little bit of a glass cannon that he's got on his hands, even more glassy or even more fragile if Cure is able to land 1 or 2 good, even just 1 good EMP, really.
Yeah, and how good are the EMPs? How good are the Storms? That's the big question. As Stats is pushing forward, mine shot's going to be going off. Nice splitting here of those Zealots as the mine shots are baited out. The boys have to be pulled.
And the boys will be caught in this Storm. These are some brilliant Storms coming out here from Stats. A couple of High Templar do get picked off, but it's not going to be enough. GG, Stats with a very solid game at number 1. That was... yeah, I mean, he's just nodding along, and I have to agree with Stats. That was just solid coming out from him. That was the Shield of Ire that I think we know and love. And so fragile, and they are very, very hit or miss, but Stats, I guess, knew something different. I guess maybe encountered Cure a couple times on this map, and those he likes to go for drops. Speaking of which, here we are on Oceanborn, bottom right hand. Teamless Blue Protoss. Stats, boys.
And in the top left, we have for Team Liquid, it is Cure. And again, yeah, really impressive stuff here from Stats overall. Especially considering that Stats, he was looking a little bit shaky a couple of months ago, even leading into IEM Katowice, even at IEM Katowice. Stats, he wasn't really able to keep up with the rest of them, with the rest of the pro players from Korea and from the world. But since IM Katowice, Stats has been really leveling up, and I think even Maru stated recently in GSL about how he has been practicing with Stats, and Stats has been looking pretty damn impressive in practice.
Yeah, it's been super interesting just to follow Stats' journey since he came back from military service. Like you said, he came back, and as everyone expected, he wasn't in form. He was getting taken out by players who historically he's gotten the better hand of. But hey, that's what happens when you haven't been allowed to practice regularly after 2 years. He qualified for IEM Katowice, which was a shock to everyone. Everybody was thinking, "Oh my God, Stats back in form," and yeah, unfortunately, he did kind of get bopped out of this group, which we all thought, yeah, that makes sense once again. But then he started leveling up since coming back from Poland. Then he's all of a sudden knocked a Dark out of GSL, topping his group of all things, and now he's really starting to look very formidable. Maybe not, that top tier, that absolutely terrifying Protoss player that he was in the height of 2017, 18, 19, but still, it looks like he's getting back to that form slowly but surely, very steadily.
Yeah, I want to believe that a big reason for that is Stats. His travels to IEM, sure, he wasn't able to perform as well as he would have liked to, but I do think he was motivated. I do think that traveling again after a long time, meeting a lot of fans as well. There are a lot of old school fans at IEM, a lot of fans of Stats as well, and I'm sure, again, he was motivated by that, invigorated, that passion was lit, the fire was lit within him, and it's great to see him actually, exceeding and performing damn well here in recent times.
Good job, Light.
True. It was me, Papi.
Yeah.
True.
You signed his jersey, or I guess he didn't have a jersey at the time, but you signed something of his, and he's like, I have to do Papi Bravo.
Oh, Papi. Oh my God.
This one's for fuerte.
Let's go.
Former ex-Splice Boy.
Exactly, the Splice Boy is back. They're having the reunion tour as we speak, and now we have a very different opener here. Instead of a Twilight Council, was a Stargate. So Stargate opener out of Stats. Reaper dips in, avoids that Adept, and it looks like we should get a full scout. We do dive in, and we do get eyes on the Stargate.
Yeah, very important here for Cure. So it's going to be a very different opening from Stats. It's going to be something maybe a little bit less versatile, but something that's going to be potentially more effective against drops. So I'm curious to see how Cure follows up from here. Of course, going for a mine drop still, despite the Phoenixes, is, I would say, worthwhile if you invested in a lower amount of Widow Mines. That's a very clever placement, actually, as our observer demonstrates.
Yeah, very cheeky move there out of Cure, hiding that Widow Mine. But as you were saying, investing into all these Phoenixes is high risk, high reward. I mean, if the Phoenixes, if they come across this trap that has been laid, then we can see things very quickly turn in favor of the Terran as Cure is being active on the map. And we'll see if Stats can keep up with the drop play of Cure.
That we shall find out. Again, opening up with a drop here for Terran is still, I would say, worthwhile just to get the scout off. Cure, however, is very committed to this. Got a Cyclone, we got a couple of Marines, and we even have those 2 Widow Mines from earlier. Just poking around outside of the base of Cure. Stats decides to go all the way into Cure's side of the map with his Phoenixes. There are no defenses over here. Everything is on his side. So Stats is going to be able to pick off quite a number of SCVs while he sets up his defenses back home.
Ooh, even forcing it. Oh, the retarding. Oh my God. Stats was trying to force some friendly fire, by the way, but no. Cure, he retargets. He breaks through the front line. The boys are being pulled, and so many probes are going to be going down. The Peaks is sure they have returned. That's a lot of firepower for Cure.
Yeah, those 3 or so SCVs that Stats took out earlier on, not going to be worth it at all. GG immediately called. Stats will not quite be having his Phoenixes work out for him. Cure going to be able to equalize.
GG, well played again. This is the risk you take when you open up Phoenixes, is that they are so fragile and you are vulnerable here in the early game, as opposed to Blink Stalkers, where with a gateway heavy composition, you can slow down the army in the middle of the map and you can whittle away at it and, of course, kite back towards the safety of the shield battery. Stats, he called his opponent's bluff. If you remember there, Cure revealed his drop as he was moving out, and Stats, instead of turning back around, he decided to go for economic damage. And as you pointed out, right, he killed, like, what was it, 3 SCBs in that counterattack? But there was nothing in him to defend.
It's one of those situations where it's like, I call your bluff. I'm not bluffing.
He's like, you're not gonna attack me. And he's like, oh, he's attacking. Oh, no. He's attacking. Oh, God.
It's like, what are you gonna do? Attack me? Oh, no, I'm getting attacked.
Oh, no. Not like this. So, yes, I'm sure he was hoping to force Cure to turn back around, but as we saw, Cure, he committed up the ramp and there was just nothing to stop him. Just like that, GG, a quick and easy game. And now we're getting ready for Ghost River. I think this was the map that you mentioned before. I think you've seen a little bit of Ghost River.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a couple of comments coming down.
Yeah, I don't think that this map is the most illegal. I think Post Youth is. Post Youth being, of course, the double main map. But here we go. We're loading into Game 3.
EDA's mentioned here to the top right. It's the blue Protoss teamless. It's that.
And in the top left-hand corner of Post Youth, we have Cure, the Team Liquid.
Is that a Team Liquid jersey?
It says Liquid on it.
It says Liquid on it. I don't know what else it says.
I don't know either. It's Liquid something. Speaking of teams, speaking of sponsors, a shout out to Double Esports, New TV, Team WE, SCBoy, Aegon, and Doyu. The main sponsors, of course, for StarsWar 11. Without them, this event would not be possible, so big shout outs as we sink in to this map, because this map is an interesting one, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Equilibrium, but not.
True. The color palette's similar, but I'm sure you're fully aware that the rush distance by ground on this map is insanely short. It's a very short. I'm pretty sure I could
much
be
more
mistaken.
manageable is what you mean.
Very short rush distance by ground. You can make it even shorter if you mine through the mineral patches that are here on the right hand side, where the, of course, ramp is. But at the same time, even though the rush distance by ground, I think it's like a screen away, by the way. It's like a monitor away from from natural to natural. But those ramps are very narrow. So you can take a pretty brutal defensive position on that ramp, and you can defend against all ins.
Just put one mine in that ramp.
Oh.
That's all you need.
Oh, no.
Just put 2 Hellions parked on hold positioning on top of that. You know?
There you go.
But 2 Burrow Banelings. I think one isn't enough.
So I'm quickly double checking here. Okay, so according to math, Ghost River is tied with Post Youth for the shortest rush distance map in the map pool. Is a shorter rush distance than Hard Lead. Hard Lead, of course, was the last map pool's shortest rush distance map in the map pool. So yeah, it takes even less time to get across on Ghost River, equal with Post Youth.
No!
Oh no!
That's, yeah, rough to say the least, and what's rough as well is somebody's not quite cooperating. Somebody's internet is not quite cooperating with us, so we're gonna have a quick little pause here. That is surprising to me, to say the least. I mean, I didn't mind Hot Lead's rush distance personally, but I know that was a huge point of contention for a lot of players. That was one of the things that made Hot Lead a little bit more vetoed than I think you might have expected, just based on the layout of the map. It looks pretty standard, but it is tiny. So a lot of players did, if they got more than 1 or 2 vetoes, more often than not, we would see Hard Lead getting vetoed out for a best of 3. But yeah, so to have 2 maps in this current map pool that are even shorter than that is insane to me.
Yeah, and this is what we spoke about earlier, about how a lot of the new maps are very aggressive, very unique in their own way, and they have just quite a lot to take in. Again, Ghost River, not just the fact that it's a short rush distance, but it can be even shorter if you mine through those minerals, for example. So it can be a giga short rush distance. Likewise, very short rush distance by air as well. So it's just very congested of a map. So Ghost River can lead to a lot of aggression. Likewise, you have Post Youth where you have like the free natural or the free pocket main base, so which is wild as well. Like, again, a lot of these maps are just, yeah, they have their own features, and it's gonna lead to a very interesting meta, I feel. Like that's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah. This is the time to thrive. If you were one of those players who, you know, I'm sad, like, I wish we had patience in this current map pool.
True.
He would thrive.
Yeah, you know, if we just had patience, if we just had more creative players here, then they could really flaunt. And there are still some creative players. You know, we have players like Gumiho, players like even Byun as well that are willing to explore the advantages of these maps. So I do look forward to it. So, you know, again, this map pool. As we're getting back in.
Well, we'll leave that for chat to ponder. Very deep philosophical question.
Is Steak Post Youth?
I think he's post youth.
He's post old. He's oh god. Smooch. Maybe that's the answer. What's post youth? It's Smooch, Bappy. It's Smooch. I love you, Steve.
That would not be incorrect. Soon we too shall be puppet VTubers.
Yeah.
Nice little bits of nice little bit of control here from Cure. We can see Stats being a little bit frustrated. With his own control, the Adept's not quite able to take out those two Marines.
Yeah, and we're going for quite a gateway explosion behind this. There's going to be a Blink Stalker based opener from Stats, but that is going to be 2 extra gates on the way, so 3 gate Blink in total here by Stats. With this, it's quite a defensive way to open up, but it can also be aggressive. It's a double-edged sword. We'll see how in his face Stats plans on being, in the face of Cure, I mean.
Yeah. I think you put it best when you say it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because if you want to play defensively, the way to play defensively is you have to be a bit more active with your defense. You have to be able to stagger the momentum of your Terran opponent, but if you overstay a welcome, if you take one bad blink, if you make one false move, you're going to lose your army, and you're just going to open yourself up to allow your Terran opponent to really get right on top of you and siege right in front of your face.
Yeah, we'll
see how Cure plays this out.
We shall see as he's going for a Marine jump across the map. He does come across a pylon and is going to try to focus it down. At the same time, Widowmine is waddling into the natural base. We do get eyes on it though, and it looks like the pylon is going to fall. Likewise with a bit of Widowmine burrow. The pylon
finally falls. And Stats tunnel visioning potentially? Blinking on forward, taking out that medevac. He will lose 1 Stalker if my memory serves me correctly, so not sure how worth it that was. I mean, he shuts out the drop, so it's got to be at least a little bit worth it.
Yeah, he shuts down the drop. He shut down the Widowmine as well, so he was able to minimize his losses. Something that I found really interesting is that Cure did go for a really fast tank. I believe he already has 1 tank on the low ground, or 1 tank. Oh, there we go. 2 tanks even covering the low ground and the main base, so he's very well fortified. Tank volleys go off. Stats is now aware of the positioning, and Stats, he is retreating and taking up instead. So he's not really being too assertive. He's going for a third base, forge, and charge, just getting ready for the mid game.
Yeah, RoboBay finished up a while ago as well, so now he is going to be starting off Colossus production. And this is just how we kind of expect a TVP like this. You know, when the Protoss player opens up with Blink to go. Grab Blink to be active on the map and to keep tabs on your Terran opponent, but you know that eventually they're going to try to break out of that. Once they get stim, they want to get a bit more aggressive, a bit more active, and what's the best way to deal with that? Colossus, or, well, as Stats showed us in game number 1, potentially Storm, but Colossus is definitely a bit more reliable, even if it's not quite as potent.
Yeah, exactly. And the Colossi should be on the horizon here. There we go. First one's on the way for Stats. Meanwhile, the push hasn't spotted, so Stats is going to be able to slow it down and ideally force a siege. As he does pick away at that tank. Shouldn't get a kill here, but again, just slowing Cure down and preparing himself back at home.
Yeah, very, very safe. Even getting these spotter pylons right around the 4th base, just in case Cure decides to go for any drops or to even just, you know, push in from that particular direction. I don't think it's going to be as effective as just going through rush distance, but it can definitely be effective if Stats is out of position.
Yeah, exactly. As a Raven comes in, gets 2 probe kills. Raven survives as well, hidden here behind the main base. Likewise, second Raven comes in, but it looks like we're going to be focused down.
Yeah, one of these Ravens will go down. A couple more probes do fall, but I don't think that was worth losing a Raven. Potentially both Ravens, I think. I don't really have eyes on Raven count right now, but I think Cure has lost both of them.
Ooh, that would be brutal if he lost the first Raven. I think I might see it in the minimap, though. I think it's, you can see like a little square in the corner. So I think it might still barely be alive. We'll get eyes on that momentarily, I'm sure. As for now, Stats is getting ready at that 3rd base. The Colossus count getting higher and higher.
Slowly but surely. And as this Colossus count gets higher and higher, you know, the window for Cure to attack will start closing faster and faster, so Cure, he's thinking a little bit further ahead. He's getting his third base and not pushing just yet. He just wants to... Yeah, he knows that there's no way he can really break Stats with this, so just gotta do what Terran players do best, and rather do what Terran do.
Yeah.
And go for drops while defending.
And there it is. As you say that, we have the drop in towards the natural base. Mine shots are going to be going off as well. Only getting a couple of those turrets before picking up, forcing a recall back home, and the drop will escape into the dead space, into the corner of the map.
The Raven
is still alive.
It lived. There we go.
There we go. It's got plenty of energy as well, so we always can threaten a big backstab here with the drops and the Raven alongside it. But the drop wasn't really too successful. I guess it forced a recall, but didn't accomplish too much more than that. Bearing in mind that now recall is on cooldown, and we can see if Cure can pull apart his opponents as he's coming in with another drop on the right-hand side.
Yeah, while the drop at the top is still alive, Stats are going to reciprocate this and goes for a little bit of a Zealot drop of his own. He's have blue speed, I believe, so yeah, Cure gonna struggle a little bit to chase down this Warp Prism.
Yeah, so the Zealots say get in, but the units are in position, so the Zealots don't really do too much damage. The Prism does survive, though, does live, escaping into the corner of the map as well. Again, this is a lot of dead space to work with, and both players are taking full advantage of that feature of this map.
I like it.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have drops at least threatening our players here as we're getting into Bio Viking from the side of Cure. Ghost production well underway as well for the Terran player, and he's settling in quite nicely here on 3 bases. No 4th yet. It is on the way, but hasn't been landed on location. Meanwhile, Stats trying to bait at the army. He does get eyes on this with the Observer.
Yeah, that poor... Well, I guess not the poor Observer, the lucky Observer, just able to get out of protection range. Cure thought he killed it, but he didn't.
It didn't get that Observer. With that, Stats, he shuts down the first push, able to force it back. Disruptors are on the way. Likewise, as we're getting into Disruptors, we're also working towards Vikings and ship weapons, eventually towards Liberators.
It's where all paths end up, really, here for Terran. No matter what the matchup, no matter what the unit composition, eventually you want to get Ghosts, you want to get Liberators. Or, I guess in DBT you don't need Ghosts, but Liberators are always a necessity in the late game.
Yeah, all roads, they lead to freedom here for Terran. We're not quite there yet, though, and the armies are posturing. They're actually about to come across each other, so we'll see who's able to get the pounce on the other here as Stats does get eyes on this. Likewise pulls back. The army does siege.
Stats will pull away, going for a little bit of a Zealot run by instead. Raven and Medevacs come back in and try to get something done. 3 auto turrets get thrown down. The drops do unload, but Stats has enough back home to chase us back. Stats not going to lose a single probe.
Yeah, very nice clean up here from Stats. He will shut this down. At the same time, main army is pushing forward. We're trying to dive on top of these Colossi, but alas, looks like we won't be able to. Decent tank volley is going to be going off, and a big Zealot run by comes in.
Oof. I think that was a kill, not a cancel, so really good job here inside of Stats. he's turning the tables quite a lot. Normally we expect Cure to be the one to really pick apart his Protoss opponent, but Stats showing him what it feels like to be on the other foot. What it feels like to be the player who is getting picked apart.
Yeah, exactly. And so far, Stats, as you mentioned, has been keeping up with Cure, if not exceeding speed a little bit. And we're just mass expanding. We're headed towards the mid game here, and maybe even longer than that here, as the main armies have yet to really clash. We've been vying for map control, but we haven't really committed yet.
Yeah, just a little bit of a back and forth. That player really confident to tech up too hard from here because they know that, I mean, they're maxed out. If they start to throw away some of their army supply, it's going to take them a while to remax some more desirable units. And if the trade wasn't favorable, they're just giving their opponent an opening. It's true for Cure, but it's especially true for Stats here.
Yeah, and a lot of this is going to come down to who pulls the trigger first here, who's the first to really dive in. It's a scary kind of prospect just because, especially Cure has a really strong defensive advantage with his siege units, whether they're tanks, Widowmines, or even Liberators. Does have that advantage, as it looks like he does come across the Zealots, but he's out of position, by the way. We push up the ramp.
Oof, indeed. So that's going to be trying to warp in back at home to deal with this, but that's a very well targeted pylons. Cure will be able to break on through, will be able to pick off an Archon. This drop finally gets dealt with, but I think that was overall a better trade for Cure.
I mean, that was a lot of ghosts going down, and what did we really trade for that army? We got Zealots, yes, but we didn't kill any Disruptors, we didn't kill any Colossi, no high-tech units went down. Stats, he's able to maintain himself, and Cure has to be careful here. Now, even though Cure did lose a lot of ghosts there, he's got advanced ballistics on the way. Liberators are finally on the horizon, 3-3s on the horizon. We have quite a production tab available here for Cure finishing up.
Yeah, +2 ship weapons, 3-3 bio upgrades, gonna be finishing up pretty soon. And Cure has started to refine his army. Stats now throwing down the fleet beacon, now throwing down a couple more star gates, but at this stage, that's just the beginning. You now need to start trading some of your army. You need to figure out how many gateway units can and should I sacrifice in order to get to my Sky Toss composition. Cure is not going to make it easy on him whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, look at the bank of Stats. What I mean by that is that Stats, he could have transitioned earlier. He could have started transition much earlier. Like, this Sky Toss is still a ways away, and I believe Cure should be looking to fight first before Stats can really get into Carriers, Mothership, and Tempest. So I want to give the edge to Cure, but if the game goes on long enough, then Stats can refine his army and get into that Sky Toss.
Key operative word here being can. Let's see how viable that really is right now. For Stats says he's been banking up his resources, as you mentioned, so he can switch into that, but even still.
Yeah, we'll see here as we do have Carriers on the way, Storm is on the way as well. Cure is building up, both players have maxed out, and 3-3 is done. 3-3 is now done for Cure, his upgrade timing is here. Will he be able to engage though, as we have a massive Zealot army coming in? There are some Liberators here, but they're not going to be able to slow down all of them.
Or even a few of them, as it looks like most of them are able to break into mineral lines for SCBs to go down.
That's 4 Cs, but that was a lot of freedom. that was a lot of liberation, so shutting down those Zealots, so very nice cleanup there by Cure. Meanwhile, the map has been cut in half. We've split the map vertically in half here. Half for Stats, half for Cure. We are maxing out. Carriers are well underway. We could be in for a bit of a longer one here if we don't clash soon. Like, we could settle in.
Oh, strap yourselves in, everyone. As... boy. So I see cannons get thrown on you for Stats, and... okay. So I see the carrier. Protection. On the way.
Oh no, stay with me, Poppy.
This is
stay
bringing
with
back
me.
memories.
It's okay. You're not in the
Memories
game.
that I don't want to remember.
You're not playing, Yaku. It's okay. They can't
Then
hurt you.
why am I pressing buttons?
The carriers can't hurt you, Poppy. They can't hurt you. But they can hurt Cure, which is concerning. I mean, thankfully, we saw the scan earlier. Cure, he saw the Skytoss transition. And what does Cure throw down? He threw down like 3 more starports, plus 3 ship weapons on the way. Cure, he's amassing a Viking army, plus EMPs, plus those ghosts, and it's going to be ideal here for Cure. But again, Cure needs a little bit more time as stats. He's looking to push in. Oh.
He is going to push in, but Cure's denying him entry each and every time, here and there. As this one Marine is the absolute MVP of this base, at least, able to take out 4 probes on his own. What we can really do right now as Cure to really keep Stats' economy down. Again, carriers are very expensive units, and interceptors aren't super expensive on your own, but they do have a funny way of stacking up very, very quickly.
That they do, and again, the armies are just posturing. We can see a couple of EMPs thrown down here and there, but no one is committing. Jesus, that Viking count is getting insanely high. I'm worried it's getting a little bit too high. Stats should be getting ready for a ground transition and trying to force that to be dead supply, essentially, and just over-investing into Vikings. We do have a couple of carriers, but again, I believe that's, what, 5, 6 carriers here? We can always go for, like, a big warping of Stalkers after the fight.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky to figure out what the golden ratio of sky units you want in a scenario like this are as a Terran player. Because like you said, very quick transition to ground toss once Stats is able to use his carriers to bleed out the army of Cure. It's going to be devastating against all those Vikings. Sure, Vikings can land, sure, Vikings can do extra damage against Stalkers, but they're very unmaneuverable. They have a pretty short range on ground, so yeah, Stalkers should be able to just outrange them, if not outright kill them, if there are a handful of Immortals thrown into the mix.
Yeah, and that's assuming that, you know, that's where we head, right? Where we start working towards a ground transition. For now, we can see Stats trading out his Stalkers, getting as much value as possible. He throws down 3 more Stargates, by the way, instead of going for additional gateways, so it looks like Stats, he wants to commit to almost pure Skytoss.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting choice to say the least, especially with Cure being this heavily invested into Vikings. Starting to see missile turrets on the map. Okay.
Yeah, just a field of turrets here for Cure. Of course, that will help out against all those carriers, against all those interceptors. The liberation zones, they're amassing. Nukes are going to be on the way here towards the forward base, and again, this stack defense is going to go down. Again, this is a great way to start to carve your way out towards the bases of Stats.
Yeah, without a doubt, as we can see already with the few number of carriers or cannons that are on the map right now, there's nothing really stopping these Liberators from sieging on forward.
Yeah, and you can see Liberators bully this back. There is still a wall of cannons, but we can soon throw down another nuke here on top of this as we're just edging on forward here on top of these shield batteries, on top of these cannons. Cannons are going down, and it looks like we're gaining ground here. We are gaining control of this center base. Stats, he can't just give it up, but at the same time, without Tempest, he can't really do anything about this. And this is where I have to be a little bit critical of the army composition of Stats. How do you deal with this Sky Terran army? Usually you outrange it with Tempest, and we have not invested into Tempest at all.
Yeah, literally just about anything else. Tempest, Storms, Archons, hell, even Mass Blitz Stalker would be able to deal with a Sky Terran army of this caliber, but I guess Stats... Actually, I don't know. I was going to say maybe Stats is worried about the Ghost, and, you know, he doesn't want to leave anything too vulnerable to EMP, but everything that a Protoss player can make is vulnerable to EMP in one way or another.
Yeah, and you can see here Stats, he's going pure carrier. Like, he's got 4 more carriers on the way. Yes, he has some supportive units here in the Colossi and the Disruptors, but there's only a handful of them, and again, he's mainly relying on pure carrier. Like, it can snowball out of control, don't get us wrong. Like, pure carrier can work, it can win fights, but as you mentioned, like, if they bunch up, if we get a big EMP, then this army can crumble.
Yeah. Yeah. And with this many liberators in the air, you know, the splash damage as well from them can actually be impactful in such a scenario. Stats is on his way to getting super max, and what that means is that he's lowered his worker count to almost deliberately in order to get a higher army count.
Yes, so he does have that higher army supply. Meanwhile, Stats did lose a base, which is important. The fact that Secure is now technically up a base and has a better economy, so Stats, I'm sure, is pressured to fight for that. Nuke is going to be on the way. Liberator Harass coming in here from the south as well. And we are just trying to pick Stats apart. Lovely Nova here from Stats. He does deny at least the first nuke, but nukes are continuing.
And you're falling where you least expect them, question mark? Or is that where you most expect them?
Up!
In a base like that. Well, I can tell you definitely that Nova was going where it expected the ghost to be.
It didn't quite connect though. The nuke did land. It does soften up this southern base, and that could be where Cure heads next. Again, we are still amassing more carriers, by the way. That is insane. I want to say we have like 15 carriers, like something along those lines. An obscene amount of carriers. Is it going to work out well, though? Like, it's going to come down to one big fight. It's going to come down to one big clash of armies.
Oh. And is that clash happening soon? Well, probably not, as yeah, more ghost nukes get denied. That's dipping in slowly but surely. He really wants to put an end to this sooner rather than later. Both players throwing away the SCVs. They've outserved their purpose at this point.
Yeah, they have outserved.
Yes, that's actually getting rid of his Colossus to get more carriers. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, we don't need the Colossus. I know where we're going, as we're making 6 more carriers. But how many carriers do we have? I said 15 earlier. We could be going up to 20, maybe even more than that. I feel like we need a graphic soon. We need to figure out, like, what is 25 carrier? What is that? What do you call a group of 25 carriers?
A bus.
Oh boy, here we go. Now, thankfully, it isn't pure carrier. We still have a couple of storms. We still have a couple of storms available. 70 birds go down. Oh, big nuke here on the bottom right-hand base. We're going for another nuke, by the way. Stats a little bit preoccupied.
Yes, tension definitely elsewhere. The nuke will land. Meanwhile, back at home, Secure started to chase away the Skytoss army.
And again, here taking Stats' base there, taking some of his minerals, will have the better economy. Stats does have a decent bank here, decent mineral bank at least, and ooh, Curie's actually working towards BCs. I mean, working towards it. Not there yet, but it's on the horizon.
Yeah, it's an option for if this game continues. For as long as it has, and will likely continue for quite some time. I like this idea here from Cure.
Yeah, I mean, we casted Maru not too long ago in the late game TVP on Radisson Station, and Maru did go mass BC and he just tore Skytoss apart. That was also Maru. We'll see if Cure can pull that off as well, as it looks like the armies are going to be engaged. We catch out some of these guys, we catch out some of these Liberators.
Yeah, the main army was just not quite in position here for Cure, but it may not matter in the end. A little bit of friendly fire. Catching 1 or 2 Vikings, but not too many of them. The remainder of them remain in almost perfect health, but here comes the Mama ship. We'll be thrown out of that time zone before minus 300-ing. Vertical mass.
Yeah, good kiting there out of Cure. He doesn't quite get any carriers, but he does kill the mothership. You can see him on the hunt, looking to pick off any stray units whenever possible. And there's the transition, or there's the follow-up. Blinkstalkers. Blinkstalkers are on the way.
Just like so. I want to point out that Stats has stopped mining almost entirely. He stopped mining gas completely, and he's only getting a little bit of mineral income here and there. He wants to end it. He is super all in.
Yeah, Nuke is on the way, but unfortunately it's going to barely miss the army. Does not connect here with the carriers. We make our way into the main base. We came to the production. We have to fight.
We have to fight. That's a good arc here for Cure, but those are some even better storms. No EMPs available whatsoever here for Cure. Just has no answer to this. It looks like Stats is going to be eliminating Cure. This has got to be his last legs. I mean, he's got a massive gas bank, but no minerals.
Exactly. He takes down all the production buildings here. Curie plummets in supply. GG gets called. Cure cannot remax. And Stats, he pulls it off with mass carrier. GG.
And if you tell me in January that Stats would be eliminating Dark and Cure from 2 different tournaments, I'd have told you were crazy. If you told me that in February, I would have said, not too likely. If you would have told me that at the start of this month, I would have said, but now, I'm all in. Stats, boys, we back!
Stats is back. GG, well played. Stats able to cut the map in half, able to get into pure carrier, and more importantly, I do think that in a longer game, if it had been drawn out, if there were these small skirmishes and small pickups, I would give the edge to Cure. Instead, Stats, he went for the kill. He went straight for the kill. He ignored dancing with the army, came up the production. That was the win condition for Stats, is to force the fight out of Cure. With that, GG, well played. Stats advances on. Cure is eliminated. We're going to be going on a short break. When we return, the TVPs continue with Maru versus Classic.
Indeed. A second qualifying match.
See you soon.
See you then. And we are back now. Going to be continuing our Korea Closed Qualifiers, this time with yet another TVP, but this time not in the lower bracket. It is going to be another upper bracket semifinal. It is going to be our yet another qualifying match to determine who is going to be facing Gumiho in that upper bracket finals. More importantly, who's going to be the second player qualifying for the offline event in Xi'an.
Yeah, here we go. We have some of the best players in all of Korea.
One previous map pool map, Golden Aura for Maru and Site Delta for Classic, for obvious reasons. I think those are probably some pretty obvious vetoes from both of them. So Alcyone, Oceanborn, and the Ghost River.
Yeah, there we go. Of course, some of the more standard maps out there in the map pool, but here we go. We're getting in the game number 1.
And the bottom left, that was the blue Terror player, Vitality on site. That was Maru.
And in the top right, we have for Twisted Minds a Classic. Whew, as we are settling into game number 1. And yeah, again, these two are they're definitely on point right now. They're on fire here in their respective, or representing their respective races. But we'll see if Classic can accomplish what many others have failed to do here. Maru is coming in as one of the heavy favorites for the entire tournament.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we're not just talking about the best TVP player and the best PBT player in this current bracket. We're talking about some of the best of their respective races in both the world and in Korea as well. More importantly, though, two players who have actually gone up against each other quite a bit in these past couple of weeks, past couple of months in tournaments and whatnot. And you gotta say, Maru has historically and recently had this slight upper hand here against Classic.
Yeah, I mean, again, Maru is, I would say... Sorry, I'm still recovering from my illness. But Maru is still, I would say, the best Terran player in the world right now. He's superseded Clem, Oliveira, and any other Terran in his way. And he's still the one to beat. So I'm really curious to see how Classic opens up. Interesting second pylon placement. Something that Classic has been very fond of here in this matchup has been hiding his tech structure actually in his natural, not in his main. So I'm curious if that's going to be the case here. Likewise, I'm very curious to see what kind of tech would you actually invest into.
Pulling a bit of a Uwu thermal, or well, not quite an Uwu thermal. You know, he's not hiding it, but he's not hiding it outside of the main base in the third base location. But still,
you know,
liking this from Classic.
Yeah, you know, the essence is there in line with Uwu thermal, and you know, Classic is an Uwu enjoyer, as many of us are. Meanwhile, we do see Maru going for an economic opener. He went for a Rax Expand. Probe is on the way, and we are soon to throw down our tech here of choice. Classic, what are we going for? We have our answer, Stargate.
Yeah, I guess that shouldn't be too surprising at this point. Classic has been pioneering a lot of Stargate builds in PBT and PBZ as well, but I still do recall him being the one who, in the previous patch, the one who really brought back Tempest in PBT.
Yeah, we'll see if he can make it to those Tempests. Something Classic has been doing recently, he actually did it against Cure, and even in the weeklies leading up to this tournament as well, we've seen a lot of it from Classic. He's very fond of rushing into Skytoss in this matchup. You know, if he ever sees an opportunity, if he ever sees a window, then he will rush into Skytoss. So that's something to bear in mind and something to keep an eye on and to punish for Classic.
Definitely, as he's not completely neglecting his safety. He is still getting that robo facility, which you'll love to see. Maru going in for a little bit of a scout, does get slightly denied. I say slightly because he did still get eyes on that robo. I don't believe Maru got eyes on the Stargate.
Ooh, not yet. Hasn't seen the Stargate, hasn't seen the Phoenix either, so Maru's playing in the dark, playing blind. He is going for a mind drop though, so a standard opener here out of Maru. Of course, with that mind drop, he can get some scanning information, get a read on what's going on. That is a very fast third base here from our Terran.
Wow, that's risky to say the least. But I suppose when you do scout, I don't know, when you do scout a robo, I guess you're going to be assuming that your Protoss player is going to be a little bit more passive, so you can try to be a little bit more active on the map here. Maru did manage to jump up with his Reaper earlier on, so I think he got eyes on the Stargate before the Phoenixes got into his face, but yeah, regardless, I think he definitely can't afford to get this early third.
Yeah, I mean, against
just how is that gonna pan out as the game continues is gonna be the question.
Yeah, I mean, a really greedy response out of Maru, but as you mentioned, because he's aware of the more standard opener out of Classic, he knows that he can get away with it. If this was like 4-gate Blink Stalker or even 3-gate Blink Stalker, then Maru would be in a lot of trouble, but he can get away with it, even going double eBays behind this for double upgrades, and yeah, Maru just looking to meet Classic in the mid-game.
Which, again, is very much of a risk here for the Terran player. I mean, there's a reason why Terran players do like to go for earlier timings in this matchup, and that's because you're going to be hitting before your Protoss opponent really gets more of their higher tech units that are a little bit more difficult for a Terran army to really deal with. That's when the Protoss army has more diverse modes of splash damage, when it has more than one or two Colossus It has more of anything, but Maru says, I'm totally fine to meet you with that because I'm going to be making units of my own. Sure, I'm going to hit later, but I'm going to hit with more units. I'm going to hit with full upgrades, and who knows? Maybe I'll have some higher tech units of my own. Wink, wink, ghosts.
Yeah, we'll see if he can make it that far. As he's going to be letting his third base on location. He is spotted by hallucinations, and that Classic knows how greedy Maru has been, but he can't really do anything about it. It's too late to punish. Maru has gone away with that fast third CC, and now he has to maintain that map control. Classic, meanwhile, stuck at home, building up his Phoenix Colossus.
Which, I don't know about you, Light, but this will forever be branded in my head as the Legacy of the Void Protoss composition.
Oh yeah.
It fell out of the meta. It's been out of the meta for years, but it was the meta for like 2 months in 2016 or 2017. And so it will always be etched in my head.
Yeah, Phoenix Colossus, that's been the go-to for many, many years at this point. And leading up to this, I'm glad I didn't mention it, but we spoke about it, Yaku, we're rushing into Skytoss. There it is. We have a fleet beacon, we have a second Stargate already. I believe we don't even have Critical Mass of Colossi yet. Like Classic, he's nowhere near maxing out, but he sees an opportunity, and again, he loves playing this style in this matchup to rush into Skytoss.
He's got 2 Colossus, and that's just about it. They do have Thermal Ants, so it's a little bit of a stronger and a longer backbone than he otherwise would have. Classic, there we go. Carrier production on the way. Grabbed the Tempest initially, but guess very quickly realized, wait a minute. Maru's not playing with siege units that much. I don't need these Tempests. Carriers are going to be much more effective.
Oh yeah, that they will be, and this is a very scary style out of Classic. If Maru doesn't scout this, if Maru doesn't punish this, then Classic will get ahead. Classic, he will snowball out of control by rushing into this very high form of tech unhindered. So it's a really risky playstyle. Big scan into the main base, big scan here to Maru. He sees the fleet beacon, he sees the carriers being researched. He now knows exactly what is going on.
Yeah, he knows there's a little bit of a timer where he really needs to punish Classic before he reaches that critical mass. He needs to be able to contain him for as long as possible. He needs to be able to just pick off whatever he can. He's being very aggressive, and he knows he can afford to. He knows that Classic is still building up. He knows that it's going to take a long while for him to get these carriers up and running. He knows that despite that gateway explosion, he doesn't actually have the minerals to really make use of them yet.
And here we go, we stim up the ramp. We do focus down on some of those cannons, some of those pylons, some of the shield batteries. Can we break through? We do get a carrier.
How many Marines are left here? Not too many by the looks of things. Cyclone pushing on forward will be able to target down this carrier.
Yeah, it does zone away. The third base is going to be broken here. We do get a kill in the Nexus. Most roads were saved, but we have plenty of Marauders. Plenty of Marauders on the ground. We're stimming on forward. We're chasing down these roads. We're headed for the forward.
Yeah, I'm liking this composition coming out from Maru. A little bit of an awkward way of getting here, but, Marauders is on the way. The Stalkers, Vikings deal with the carriers. That's a hard counter if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and Maru doesn't kill Classic, but he does maim him, and that was the purpose here. After scanning, after he saw how vulnerable Classic was, he knew that he had to go now. He had to just push as soon as possible, and he was able to break Classic before he hit Critical Mass Carrier.
Absolutely, and you say he didn't kill Classic, but you get 2 bases taken out like this when you're going for a build that's really, really dependent on getting to that, late game as early as possible, to getting to a critical mass of carriers as quickly as possible. You might as well be dead at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, just look at that armor supply difference.
Exactly. Classic, he's on the ground, he's trying to stand back up, he needs time to rebuild, time to reestablish his economy, but he's already about to max out. Maru, he's about to max out, and he will not allow Classic to get back into this game.
Yeah, he's offended. He's offended that Classic would even try to go for it. Against me? Who do you think I am? GG's called, and Maru will be taking game number 1.
GG, well played. A solid game there out of Maru. Again, Classic trying to be cheeky, trying to whip out those Classic shots as well. So he knows that he has to be on top of his scouting against Classic. He knows that he has to keep an eye on him, and I'm sure he's going to be doing his due diligence on Oceanborn as well as we're loading into game numero 2.
And over here in the top left-hand corner, the blue Terran player with Crank in the background, he is Maru. Vitality.
In the bottom right, we have his opponent for Twisted Minds. It is a classic.
It now occurs to me that it would make more sense if that picture that Maru has is of him.
His own picture?
But for some reason I saw, his own picture in the background there on his trophy cabinet.
No,
but for some reason I saw that, like, hey, it's Crank.
Yeah, it's Crank, yeah.
It's Portrait of Crank, you know?
It's his coach.
Yeah.
It's for inspiration.
Exactly, you know, it's when you're practicing, when you're having a really tough ladder session. That's what I used to do, you know?
Yeah.
You would just look up and you would say, no, I have to keep going. I cannot fail you.
Exactly. Who would you say that to?
So I used to have why I used to have a printed out portrait of Milk.
Oh no.
Full-size portrait of Milk.
Oh no.
It's on my wall.
Senor Leche. Oh my. There you go. And it worked, you know? That's when you got out of plat into diamond.
Yeah.
Thanks
and
to
have remained for the past 6 years.
That's because you need an updated photo. But you know, Milk, he's actually in really good shape nowadays.
He is.
He is Spider-Man. He jumped on the bandwagon, and he's been on that rock climbing gym like hype train.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's looking good.
If there was ever any consolation for not having cooking with cookies,
yeah,
that would be it.
I mean, I still want cooking with cookies, but now we get climbing with cookies instead. And, this is pretty good. Pretty good. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But for now, we are going to be settling into game number 2 here, and so far, same opener here by Maru, going for a Rax expand into the factory. Meanwhile, we're still yet to determine our tech of choice for Classic. I spoke too soon, as this time it is not going to be a Stargate.
Yeah, it's something a lot more traditional here. A lot more standard here in PvT. It is going to be that Twilight Council. Most likely going to be Blink. I mean, occasionally you see a couple of PvT builds where the Protoss player does prefer teching into charge and being a bit more aggressive, but it's very, very niche and quite map dependent, I would say. Not just map dependent, but play dependent as well.
100%.
You usually want to do that when you can get away with a proxy.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday in Hero versus Beyond where Hero did open up DT, one of those games. Twilight Council into Dark Shrine. It didn't work. It did not work out for him, but you know, did attempt it against Beyond, and as you said, it's very much so a play style kind of approach here, as the Adept does slip into the main base. Classic getting a full scout up, gets 2 SCVs, and he does confirm the 1-1-1.
Indeed. So he knows that Maru as well isn't doing anything too out of the ordinary. Going to be preparing for a mine drop. Going to be keeping tabs on him as well. Doesn't want to. I can't imagine he'll want to allow Maru to get away with an earlier third base 2 games in a row.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that Terran player to get out of control economically. Meanwhile, that's 2 extra gates, so it's going to be 3 gate blink in total here by Classic, so he can be a little bit more aggressive and assertive with this build. Meanwhile, Maru, I'm sure, is still trying to piece this together. He has to get a read on how many gateways there are and how aggressive Classic does want to be.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot of options as a Protoss player when you open up with Blink, and Maru, who did get that full scout off, he's well aware of that. He needs to make sure that, or he needs to be sure that if Classic threw down more gateways, he's able to confirm that. Again, you do not want to take anything for granted here. Especially against a player like Classic, who is kind of renowned for his versatility.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so we do see Maru coming in for that follow-up scout, going for a mine drop. Meanwhile, Stalkers are in position. We can focus on the medevac. Medevac is going to get targeted down. The mine shot's going to be going off as well, but we do avoid them.
Yeah, only 1 probe goes out so far. Maru really wants to get the money shot, but isn't quite going to be able to get it. Only 1 probe goes down. Maru gets kind of a full scout. I mean, he sees the number of gateways that Classic has got, so
yeah,
he reconfirms the tech, so it's something.
It is something.
And interestingly enough, from here on out, speaking of tech, Classic actually doesn't get a Robo-Bait. Okay, now there's the Templar Archives. Interestingly enough, though, he is following this up with Charge and with +1 armor.
Yeah, we were waiting to see what kind of what kind of direction Classic would be taking us in. We now have confirmation it is going to be Storm, Archons, and Charge, also very gateway-heavy composition. Assaulters, they finally get across the map. We'll see what we can get done. We can, of course, bring it to the main. We can maybe get a couple of SCVs, maybe pick up some add-ons, but nothing game-bending here, as Maru does have an army in position.
Indeed, he does. Just waiting to siege that tank up. Looks like not wanting to risk anything too much right now. Yeah, isn't quite able to delay an upgrade, but will apply a little bit of pressure here on Maru. Will keep him on his toes. Nice feedbacks. Did I hear that correctly? Did the feedback change not go through? I think I heard something about there being the whatchamacallit.
Yeah, I heard that they decided not to come in with the feedback change, which is why I think we heard 2 feedbacks on that one Raven, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think that was the case as well. Yeah, a little unfortunate here for Protoss players.
A little unfortunate, but regardless, it was a good reaction. The Classic does force back the army. Storm is on the way. It's halfway done. Maru's working on a 3rd base, so he's not going for a 2 base all-in. But he is going to be moving out with quite a hefty army here. And can he break Classic? Can he get some damage done here with this move out? Or is he just looking to expand and take a 3rd?
Well, the 3rd is almost complete. On a much more normal time here in a TVP. Not super early. Classic will be getting his 3rd base much sooner than Maru will, which is typical for a PvP.
Ooh, oh my god, we threatened the Storm drop here. The Prism takes a lot of damage from that turret, but we do pull back. The Prism thankfully does survive, and Classic is going to be racing back home. Did not get the Storm drop off. At the same time, Raven Harass has been deflected, and we're just building up towards 3 bases. Classic has had a slightly better economy here for quite some time, but Maru has finally broken out.
He has broken out. He has broken free. And he's getting his 3rd base, landing it, or morphing it into a more orbital and then landing it. And really getting into that mid-game that we expect from a Terran player in this matchup. Ghosts, Bio, a couple of Vikings just to zone away any units that need to be zoned away in the air.
Yeah, again, it looks like Maru's just taking a bit of a slower approach here. I mean, he did bleed out quite a bit in the early to mid game, so he's kind of recognized that, and he's just chilling back at home, taking his 3rd base. At the same time, Classic revealed his Storm earlier, and we're just working towards Colossi production into a 2nd Robo and double Colossus as well. So we're just kind of calming things down and easing in towards a longer game.
Slowly but surely. Those are some beautiful storms being thrown down here from Classic. Maru forced to pick up and immediately evacuate, but all of his bio units are extremely low on health. Those are not quite in position to EMP this. Charging on forward, gonna be taking out the tanks. Huge storms on these SCVs.
Yeah, the Classic, he breaks through the 3rd base, cleans up all the tanks, shuts down the 3rd base itself. 19 SCVs go down. And I was assuming that the game was going to be going a little bit longer, especially with Classic taking up towards Colossus production, but no, I was mistaken. Classic catches Maru with his pants down, and Classic takes a massive lead.
Just like so. It's 67 probes to 49 SCVs here. Classic shutting down any momentum Maru was trying to build as he was getting his 3rd base. Remember, it was monumental earlier on when Maru was able to really break free from Classic's pressure, really was able to establish himself on the map. So for Classic to just reassert himself immediately like this is terrifying right now if you're Maru.
Oh yeah, it is terrifying, and Maru, he's just in a really rough position. I mean, he's down 2 bases. Classic is working on a 4th as Maru's stuck on 2 bases. The Zealots, they stim on 4, or they charge on 4. Nice snipe on that Prism, though. The Prism did go down. But again, Maru, he's just barely surviving here on 2 bases. Taking a 3rd base, it's taking quite a bit of effort.
It is taking a lot of effort. I do really like Maru's army here. I do think that with a couple of good EMPs, he will be able to fight this, and from there, depending on how well he trades, maybe he can go for some counter damage, but it's also going to rely on him really nailing the EMPs, really not taking any storms. Hello, Colossus. Just chilling upside at third.
Yeah, a bit of a misrally here out of Classic, and hopefully he notices. Hopefully he pulls back that Colossi, as it is very vulnerable across the map, and would be a brutal pickoff here if Maru were to come across it. Meanwhile, Maru getting his third base back up and running. Meanwhile, Classic getting his own fourth, still maintaining his economic lead, and Classic is soon moving out once again, this time with a massive Colossus count.
Yeah, doesn't quite have as many storms as earlier on, but the Colossus definitely make up for it. We're also at a point where Colossus might actually be more valuable right now than High Templar. You know, EMPs are good, but you know, Colossus can weather EMPs a little bit better than Templar can.
Yeah, exactly. They have quite a bit of HP to work with here as Classic is maneuvering out. Again, I wonder if Classic realized that he's missing a Colossus, as his Colossi is still rallied out there.
Now he does. I was gonna say, it's a spotter Colossus, you know?
Oh no! As Colossus caught out, big storms here on the army, big storm on the Ghost as well.
Beautiful bait coming out here from Classic. That was all intentional, like. That was the baiting Colossus coming out here from Classic. Maru getting a nice little arc, will be nailing the EMPs for the most part, but I just don't think he has the numbers on his side. Colossus in the back line, still throwing out their volleys and coming to Bio Army. GG is called Classic. Gonna be able to tie up the series 1-1.
GG, well played. Just like that, Classic ties it up here, and we are going to the ace match. There are so many ramps and so many choke points, it can be quite difficult to pull off an all-in, and as we saw previously, because it's so difficult to push in and be aggressive on this map and to actually break some of these ramps, you can just defend and cut the map in half.
Yeah. Let's defend. Forehead. And yeah, it's definitely one that, despite the rush distance, like you were mentioning, doesn't lend itself very well to these counter pushes and to these all-ins, so it's weird. I was gonna say interesting, but really it's weird. Oh man, this is the map, I think, to keep our eyes on as the series continues. This and post-youth. Because, yeah, they don't follow any really conventional layouts, anything that we have really been used to when it comes to maps. When it comes to, you know, maps that are very, very commonly played, so it's still up in the air what the conventional wisdom is going to be and what the meta dictates. You know, what kind of strategy should you whip out on Ghost River?
Exactly. Right now the meta is in flux, and it's kind of hard to really get a read on how players really want to make use of these maps, how they want to take advantage of some of the features. Speaking of the meta, speaking of taking advantage of this map, Classic, he is going for not a Twilight Council, for not a Stargate, he's going for a Robo Opener.
Okay, that's certainly a choice here from Classic. We're going to be dipping in, and we'll get that full scout.
Ooh, big scout here from Maru. So a Robo Opener is usually a very defensive way to open up. I say that because a Robo Opener leads into a faster Colossus, leads into faster Robotics Bay production here, which would be ideal against a 3-Rax. And to be fair, I could definitely see Maru 3-Raxing on this map, so it feels like maybe Classic was reading that and tried to hard counter that. There is a way to be aggressive with this, where you can go for a third Gateway and a Warp Prism, but I'm expecting Classic to be a little bit more tech heavy here, as, oh, he goes for a fast Twilight Council.
That's where you were going with when you said you could be more aggressive with this.
Hey.
I was thinking something completely different.
What were you thinking of?
I was thinking you get a Warp Prism, you get Warp Prism speed, and you send your Colossus immediately across the map.
You're an animal.
It's just my environment that I was raised in.
Okay, so Maru, he's being hyper aggressive here. He's moving out across the map with Marines, with Cyclones. By the way, he's rallying a tank and a Liberator across the map as well. So Maru, he's borderline all in with this, and ooh, he's catching Classic with his pants down. Classic, he skipped his Robo, he skipped his Bay. He's not doing anything with that Robo production. There we go, now getting into Immortals, but the drop is here.
Yeah, Classic potentially misreading this quite a bit after scouting that Maru wasn't going for a 3-racks, like you said, just kind of neglected his own production on that robo facility and just decided to go a bit of a different direction than what this build typically is, but it's a direction that didn't really pay off for him. Maru will hang back for now. He's content to just continue to harass with these 2 Cyclones. He's already getting a lot of damage with them. That's 9 probes already so far. And no blink. This is a charge first build, interestingly enough, coming up from Classic, so yeah, he's going to have an even tougher time dealing with that drop. Here comes the rest of the units that Maru was producing, starting to march their way across the map. Maru smells blood in the water. Maru senses an opportunity, and he wants to go for it.
Yeah, Maru taking advantage of the short rush assist by ground, forcing his way up the ramp. Again, the ramp is very narrow, and this is a decent defensive position here. The concave in favor of Classic, and he hold on.
Oh. Yeah, a bit of a double-edged sword is this ramp, as Maru is able to get even just 1 volley off, and yeah, that does get a lot of damage with these Stalkers. I think Classic has just about been able to hold, though.
Yeah, Classic barely holds on. Tank does siege up with the power of this tank. Maru still poses a threat to the army. Second Immortal has arrived. With the power of the second Immortal, Classic he holds, and Maru backs off.
Yeah, he doesn't want to risk that too much. He was getting the third behind all of this, so yeah, he's not all in by any means. He knows that he's content with the fact that he was been able to contain Classic on these 2 bases for this long. And ordinarily, Terran getting a 3rd base or landing at 3rd base before the Protoss player even begins their own 3rd. If it's an economic game that we're playing, that's terrifying for the Protoss player, but Classic, because of how he built, because he was able to get, because he did get this robo facility earlier, and because he was sticking into charge, he's got opportunities to counterattack that Maru really needs to take seriously right now.
Exactly, and we'll see if he can go for those counterattacks. We'll see how active he can be as Classic is working towards Storm, towards Blink, towards that 3rd base. It does feel like Maru still has momentum on his side. It still feels like he has quite an army to work with. We'll see if he can make use of it, though, as he tries to go for a drop, but he is going to be deflected. And he is building up an army, but has yet to pull the trigger. It looks like maybe Maru is waiting for those upgrades, waiting for his own stim, for his own 1-1.
Yeah, that would definitely be ideal here for Maru, for the Terran player. Classic, meanwhile, going to continue to play a little bit more passively. He knows that he can get away with teching up right now. Maru is not being too active on the map at the moment, so there's a little bit of a window here for Classic to really get his upgrades, to really get his Storm, get his Blink, and get more gateways going.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see if he can build up to that. As it looks like, because of Maru's passivity, because he's waiting for his own upgrades, that means Storm is going to finish up. The gateways will finish as well, and Classic, he can hold his own against his opponent. This is still very much so up in the air. I still want to say this is still anyone's game here. Sure, things are looking a little bit scary for Classic early on, but he weathered that storm, he survived, and now Storm is done.
Yes. That's a mantra of Protoss and PvT, right? You weather the storm until you get stormed.
And then you control the storm.
And then you storm them.
Speaking of, that's why Templar in that prism.
Oh, chill out, it's the storm.
Yeah, he's going for the mineral line. He's going for the economic damage. Instead, Maru does get eyes on this. He does pull away. Very quick reaction here out of Maru.
Oh, great feedbacks landing on top of that Raven. Almost hit Viking.
Yeah, gets one storm, second storm as well in the Marines. Oh my god.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's an attack going into 3rd base. 18 SCVs do go down. It's run by Zealots doing a lot of damage, and now Maru, he was ahead by an obscene amount of workers, and now he's down 10. But he's still got a very strong army. We'll see how he makes use of it. Great storms coming out from Classic. His storms have been absolutely on point tonight.
They have been, but the EMPs are not looking too bad either. We snipe one of those side Templar. Do we have any storms left? It looks like we might have one storm here. No, we do not, by the way, and Maru's pushing in.
Yeah, it really looked like he might have had one, but he did not. Very quick of Maru to recognize that. Finally, that one storm, that one Templar has enough for a storm, but even that's not going to be enough. Look at that army supply difference as Maru continues to march his bio across the map. Very short rush distance.
Exactly. Exactly. Maru wants to break Classic here and now. Without Storms, Classic is in a lot of trouble. That's the downside here of rushing to Storm, is that you need energy, you need High Templar available. Without Storms, you are so vulnerable here, and Maru may just have too much as he's rallying everything across the map.
That's one more Storm, and I believe that was the last Storm of Classic for the time being. There was a time where Maru had to be a lot more conservative with his army movement. He didn't quite have his tanks. His mines were taken out earlier, but now the tanks are here. Now 2 mines are looking to support them. Now Maru can continue to go on forward. Oh, the shield battery overcharge was popped very prematurely.
Oh, it was popped too prematurely before the fight does occur, so Classic a little bit too nervous, a little bit too trigger happy there. Shield battery is going to be going down. We dive on top of the Bay. The Bay Extendable Lance is not going to finish.
Yeah, going to be taken out. Only one Colossus going to be available for this fight. Once again, a really good Storm, getting just about every unit in this army, but it's still not going to be enough. There's just way too much Terran here for Classic to deal with.
Exactly. It was one Storm, but only one Storm there. It was a good Storm, but not enough. Cells are trickling into the desert. Tanks, they get massive volleys off here on the Protoss army as well. Colossi has arrived, but again, Extendable Lance is not going to finish, not anytime soon, and it even may never finish.
How many dang medvacs does Maru have? I'm starting to realize it's cutting into his supply a little bit, so Maru isn't actually up 50. It's more like he's up 35 on Classic, which is still more than enough to deal with this.
Is more than enough. GG gets called, and with that, Maru, he will take down a Classic and qualify for the main event of StarsWar 11.
And he did it for you, Crank, in this background.
GG, well played here. Honestly, after the initial defense, I was like, can Classic do this? Like, you saw when Classic, when he was harassing with his Storm, right? The insane Storms in the natural. We had the flanking Zealot harass as well. He killed 19 SCVs. He did some critical damage, some crippling damage. But because he had spent so many Storms harassing, he had very few Storms to defend. He had like 1 or 2 Storms left over here. He could barely not survive, and the pressure was on Maru to counterattack, and boy, did he counterattack.
He counterattacked hardcore. I gotta say, the actual mechanics and the control of Classic tonight and throughout this entire event so far have been absolutely on point. Again, he was nailing every single Storm. Sure, he didn't have enough of them at certain points, but he was able to really make the most out of what little he had. Unfortunately, it does seem that every now and then, you know, when it came to making a decision or taking a risk or stuff like that, Classic just calculated things a little bit. His calculations were a little bit off, and you know that resulted in him going for builds that didn't quite work out. Maru very quick to recognize openings for himself, to recognize what the weaknesses of Classic's decisions were, and was very, very quick to punish them.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's something that you pointed out during the end of that game, but specifically, I think that playstyle from Classic can work very well on almost any other map. But because we're on Ghost River, because of the short rush distance, it meant that after the harassment ended, once Maru started counterattacking, you saw how little time it took to get across the map, to rally reinforcements, and to punish the aggression of Classic. So the map working against Classic there.
We're jumping in.
And here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have Solar for Team Vitality.
And right in the top left, going to be representing Dragon Kaiser Gaming, it's Hero.
Again, very little downtime here. The players, they were raring and ready to go as Solar is opening up with his hatch first. And as we're getting into our ZVP, the first one of the night, a big shout out to Agaton SC. Thank you so much for subscribing for the first time with Twitch Prime. Gracias, papi. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you.
Heart quack.
Quack.
We do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, papi. Thank you so much. As, again, we are settling in for the first time into a ZVP. It's going to be a hatch gas pool opener here out of Solar. And Hero, likewise, just being as annoying as possible as we ease our way into the final series of the night.
Indeed. We're gonna ease ourselves into the final series, but I don't think it's gonna be a chill match by any means here. I mean, just looking at our two players and looking at how focused they are right now, I have a feeling Solar wants to do a couple of cheeky things, and I have a feeling that Hero wants to just go full Goblin.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, Hero, there's a reason why he's such a great player to watch in this matchup, because he's very unorthodox, and I expect a lot of aggression to come out from him. Solar can have a hard time keeping up. Solar is a much more standard player in general in ZVP, so I feel like Hero can really thrive against him. I would give the edge to Hero in general against Solar, but it's a best of 3. That's the scary thing here. It's a very short series. Anything could happen.
Anything indeed. And keeping in mind as well, Solar is the last Zerg player in this tournament, in this bracket that we've got so far.
True.
And we've had a couple of... I believe you had a couple of Zerg players, no, actually. Yeah, now that I double-checked the bracket, Solar is straight up the last Zerg player in StarsWar 11.
Yeah, it was such a shame, because we were casting the open qualifiers, and fun fact, the qualifying match for the closed qualifier was Solar versus Shin. Like, because of the seeding, yeah, for none of the seeding, both Solar and Shin, they faced off. Not just Solar and Shin, Solar, Shin, and DRG. They all knocked each other out for that one qualification spot, for one Zerg player to make it through. So, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate how the seeding worked, but because of that, only one Zerg player in the entire bracket.
Hashtag not rigged enough. Still allowed one to slip through. Ugh.
Exactly. Shaking my head. For none of the SCBoy admins. Shaking my head. As we are going to be settling in, for the time being, going to be a Stargate opener into Oracle, so pretty standard opener so far out of Hero.
Yeah, testing the waters a little bit. This is kind of what we've come to expect in PvZ in this current meta. Solar going a bit more Ling heavy, going to be a lot more active on the map with those Lings. But still gonna have enough at home to chase away these Oracles. Already getting his Spores, already grouping up his Queens. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, the third base is looking solid here by Hero. He's got his SimCity, he's got 2 Adepts in position, and the Oracles are moving out. 2 dead drones so far, nothing major, no major losses from Solar yet, but Hero, he's testing the defenses here, testing the multitasking of Solar as we dive in, and we do get another drone.
And there's little bits of damage here and there that Hero's getting. Most important part, of course, is the fact that he's been able to keep both of his Oracles alive. They aren't grouped together right now, but now the third Oracle's going to be coming in to meet them.
Exactly. Third Oracle is on the way to join up with the rest. We have our follow-up tech here. It's going to be a Forge as Twilight Council. This should be for +1 and Blink. We could head into +1 and Charge. That's also a viable option here for Hero. But before we get into our follow-up, we have a ride with our Oracles and Adepts. So looking for some economic damage.
Yeah, Glaiveless Adepts, so not super committed here from Hero, but still a unit composition that has potential to deal a lot of damage. Stasis Ward does pop off in natural base, and that's going to delay a lot of mining here for Solar.
It is. Solar is going Lair first. Interesting. This could be the beginnings of, I was going to say Ling Hydra, but we do have a safety Ridgeborn. Ooh, big stasis here in the natural base, though. Hero may not have killed many workers, but he does get a stasis off. Does deal quite a bit of economic damage.
And now the 3 Oracles meet up. As prophesized. Adepts still being active on the map, still clearing up creep wherever they can. Yeah, just doing a really good job of keeping Solar back at home here for Hero.
Yeah, they're keeping him pinned. +1 Blink is on the way. We have the Bay as well. It looks like we're heading towards Colossus production, so a very mid-game oriented army here from Hero. Not the most aggressive playstyle. I mean, he's being very aggressive and very in his face with Oracles and Adepts, but he's not going for any kind of big 8-gauge Blink Stalker time or anything like that. Hero, he's being more defensive and more tech-heavy back here.
Oh, yeah, Solar going to be forcing a reaction here, forcing the recall as well, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to really break into this or really even get to full skip of the base. Actually, I say that,
yeah,
but these Lings have dealt with the Stalkers and they're going ham on the probes.
Very good counterattack here by Solar. He gets 7 probe kills, almost an 8th probe as well. Punishing here for skipping the shield battery. No shield battery was present here at the third base, no overcharge either. With that, Hero gets punished. That is 8 probe kills in total. Very good damage dealt by Solar.
Yeah, more than what these Oracles were able to really get done over on the other side of the map. And now Solar's going to be jumping into the mid game with a little bit of an economic lead. He's getting his upgrades on the way. He's getting his roaches, which is not quite what you want to be facing when you're going Blink Colossus, but yeah, it's still possible to pull something off here with Hero's unit comp.
Oh, exactly. As the Adepts are finally going to be shut down, at least some of them are, but again, Adepts are being outscaled. We have confirmation, of course, that Solar is coming into a Ling Roach Ravager-based composition. Oh, as he bleeds out more drones, Hero doing an amazing job here, just keeping up with Solar and just punishing and picking away at his economy. Meanwhile, Solar, are we going to drone up any further? We've cut workers here at 3 bases at 66 drones, and we may decide to just max out on Ling Roach Ravager.
Well, I'm looking at the production tab light, and I gotta say, if you were expecting a longer economic game, I think you'll be disappointed, as Solar just wants to maybe not necessarily kill Hero here on out, but at the very least cripple him. Creep Highway is already set up, halfway done across the map. Queens are coming in here to really try to deal with these Oracles. No creep on the center map, so Transfuse is not going to be an option here, but it might not matter in the end here for Solar.
Yeah, here we go. Solar, he is committed. Diving on forward, diving on top of that shield battery. Overcharges, but we can focus it down. But we do have a couple of Colossi.
Yeah, 1 Colossus maybe isn't the most threatening thing here for Solar, but 2 Colossus and a Warp Prism to juggle them. And all of a sudden, things become much, much more difficult.
Yeah, you can see Solar is running out of steam. He's running out of Ravagers. Good target firing, good juggling here out of Hero. Preserving that Colossi, keeping alive. Boys are being pulled. And we are cleaning up the army. Solar, he's running out of steam, and he is being deflected.
Just like so. He's lost so many high-energy Queens to this. He's lost so many Roaches and Ravagers as well. This Warp Prism has been the absolute MVP in this fight.
Yeah, and what's scary here is that Solar was pretty all-in. Like, there was no other tech here. There was no Infestation Bit, no Hydrogen, no Lurker tech, no +2, no +1. No 4th base, no saturation. He was completely all in, and now he's still all in. Solar refuses to drone, still making more roaches and more lings.
I mean, he's got to right now, because Hero is looking to reciprocate, and if Hero does overextend a little bit, then I think there's going to be a really good opportunity here for Solar to really punish that and really pick off those high-tech units, but Hero is being smart about this. He's just skirting the edges of creep. He's dealt his damage. He knows that that Solar is committed to being all in, so he just needs to defend. That will get cancelled at the last second. A couple of drones went down across the map as well. Solar still wants to end this. He still wants to break into the natural base. Stasis Ward going to be cutting off so many units and acting as a bit of a force field, actually.
Yeah, we do manage to get one of those Colossi, though. Baal's going to be connecting with that shield battery. Here comes the second wave, and is this second wave going to be able to break on through? Nova goes off. Oh, only gets one of those roaches here, and Solar, he is actually getting a little more value this time.
Yeah, the buffer is gone. The Warp Prism wasn't here to juggle for the Colossus, and so Solar is able to punch his way through, is able to target down the Colossus, is able to deal with what stragglers of Stalkers remain.
Yeah, and Solar, can he break through the entire defensive line here? Nova goes off. Ooh, big connection there from Solar. Oh, sorry, from Hero.
It was going to be tough. It was definitely going to be tough here for Solar to really break through, but that Purification Nova, I think, really solidified the defense here for Hero. If not for that connection, I think the fight would, at the very least, still be going on.
And with that Solar, he has to back off, and now Solar's droning. Now he's finally droning up. We have a Baleen Nest on the way. We have +1 melee on the way as well. Solar, he's taking up even further. Meanwhile, Hero, with that breathing room, he expands, and he even does harass across the map. Isn't doing too much damage, but again, the game will go on.
That's all that matters. So we're gonna be scouting once again with these lings, and we'll confirm that, yep, Hero still wants to play this out economically. He doesn't want to go for any all-in counterattacks just yet.
Not quite yet. Here is, again, we're harassing with these Stalkers. We pick off an Overlord. Hero's already got +2. He's got +1 armor. Like, Hero's upgrades are looking solid, to be honest. Like, the quality of his army is good, but the quantity of his army is still lacking, and I don't think now is the time to move out. Solo, we're going for a bit of a base trade here. He denies the top right, so he denies the fourth, and we're committing. We're going for the base trade.
Yeah, I have to wonder who's going to make better in this scenario. Once again, I like the army of Solar a bit more right now. I just think that the quantity gives him the slight edge above the tech that Hero has, but, you know, 1 or 2 well-placed Purification Novas is all it's going to take here for Hero to really save this, and ooh, that's pretty good, if I do say so myself.
Oh, we're recalling!
Recalling right on top of Roaches, though.
Yeah, one Colossus does recall back. Big Nova's going to be connecting with the army. We need to save that Colossus, by the way. The juggling has to be on point for Hero, and so far it's not looking too bad, but probes are going down.
Yeah, a lot of these vials are starting to connect. Looks like Solar's really losing steam, though. He hasn't taken as much economic damage back home, but does he have enough time to try to restart an army? Nova will connect. Wow, Hero was not expecting, Solar, sorry, was not expecting that disruptor from the back.
Yeah, and remember, the upgrades are in favor of Hero. GG gets called. Hero, he survives. He shuts down the army for a second time, and Hero takes game number 1. Whew.
GG, very nicely done here.
So what we should emphasize here is that Solar, he almost did break Hero.
Yeah, a couple of occasions where if the Purification Novas weren't on point, I think we would have seen a very different result in this game. I think we would have seen Solar been able to pick off another Colossus or 2, maybe get chased back again, but, you know, at the very least he would have been able to stifle Hero's momentum, but that wasn't the case. Anyway, we're going to be continuing our series on a brand new map, Amphion. In the bottom left is bottom somewhere with the Yankees jersey. He is blue, representing Vitality on site. I don't care. It's not time anymore. It's Solar.
And in the top left, we have Hero for Dragon Kaiser Gaming. Fun fact, it's getting quite late here, and as you were doing your intro, I moved my mouse over to zoom in and swish the way that I usually do, and I actually minimized the clean
Minimize Chrome, yep. Or whatever
I was like, I'm not observing. My apologies. So, yeah. Again, it's getting quite late here, and we're both a little bit fatigued. Again, I do apologize for the constant muting and all that stuff. Apologizing to the chat just because still under the weather, still recovering from being sick and from the flu. But we're getting there. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you for joining me tonight as well. Thank you.
Yes. Was glad to be here. Wait, this is the outro?
Not yet.
We still have a game.
We have
possibly 2.
Possibly, maybe even 3.
Maybe we could have maybe even 4.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 6. What's after 6? Yeah. Maybe 6.
There you go. As we're loading into Amphion for the first time tonight here. Now, it should not be a surprise, but we do have mineral walls once again to open up the left-hand side to reduce the rush distance quite heavily here. But it does actually take quite a lot to actually mine through those mineral patches. I believe they are 4 patches deep, so it takes quite a bit here to commit to make it through. We have seen some players try to attempt to rush through that, and it's been quite unsuccessful. It takes far too many workers, far too many drones to actually commit to that. So yeah, it's an interesting map here. Short rush distance by air, though. That's what I should say.
Mostly, mostly the thing that gets me on this map is that it's got wood planks. It's reminding me of Battle on the Boardwalk.
Oh. Okay.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, Light, but Battle on the Boardwalk, that was also another map where it wasn't completely symmetrical, where it's like top left, bottom right. It was both on, it was the same, you would spawn in the same location vertically, or horizontally. You would be on the same side, but at, like, you know, different quadrant is what I'm trying to get at. And there was also not a mineral wall. I don't think that was a thing at the time, but there was debris that you could knock down to get into your opponent's base. I could be wrong.
Is God, is Battle on the Boardwalk, is that the one where there was like you could sneak around the edge of the map and you can open it up with was it a mineral wall, or was it like rocks that you could knock down and you can skirt around the edge?
I want to say rocks. I don't think mineral walls were really a thing at the time. This was what, 2018, 2017, 2018. So before it was before ladder maps were allowed to be more experimental.
Yeah, so I'm checking in. Yeah, it was rocks. So it was like the edges of the map. That's where goal bases were, and you could knock down and open up these attack paths to skirt around the edge.
I remember the goal bases now. Yeah,
I remember this map because I vetoed it immediately. I did not play a single game on this map.
I remember that map because I got a lot of free wins from players who forgot that there were rocks. Oh yeah, this is what it's reminding me of. It's just that we've hit that next stage of evolution where instead of rocks or debris to knock down, it's minerals to mine through.
There you go. There you go. As we do have a couple of Lings being shut down. We did get 2 probe kills though. Very nice damage dealt here by Solar. This should not have happened. Not at all. As Hero, he's rushing into Sky Toss. That is a Voided Opener into a Fleet Beacon.
Channeling his inner classic. You'll love to see it.
Oh, as we're punishing Hero.
Try to punch him for? Yeah.
Yeah, Hero, he mined through those middle patches himself, which means Lings, they just flood in.
Like, so really good control here from Hero with his Adepts. With his mineral walking as well. Not going to be losing any probes to this.
Doesn't lose any probes, but I believe Solo got a full scout. Solo, we can see he's going for a lair first. Once again, trying to delay that third base for as long as he can. And again, he saw the main base. Did he see the Fleet Beacon? He did. He 100% saw the Fleet Beacon. We're going for a Tempest Rush.
Interesting choice coming out here from Hero. Not something you see every day, especially in PvZ. And Solo once again confirms this. Scouts, yep, those are 2 Tempests. I should be getting a Spire.
And I don't know if you saw that, but as soon as the scout came in, Hero, he canceled Tectonic Destabilizers. As soon as the scout came in, he had to cancel them, and we can see why. He's transitioning into Ground Toss. That is a Forge and a Twilight Council on the way. Again, he's respecting Solar quite a bit and is aware that his opponent should be transitioning and should be responding to this. There's that Spire now on the way for Solar.
Just like so. We'll see how active Solar's going to be able to be with his continued scouting into the space. If he's going to be able to confirm that Hero is making a hot switch into Ground Toss. Hopefully Solar doesn't overmake Corruptus here.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a trap because there it is. +1 and Blink is on the way. A Gateway Explosion as well. So again, Hero, because he got scouted, he is switching into Ground Toss instead. And the Tempest, they have arrived. Solar, for the time being, is unaware of the transition. He's hyper-fixated on dealing with the Tempest. We have Spores, Spores, Queens, and soon-to-be Corruptors.
And these Tempests, they pack a punch. Transfuse, trying their best to keep each other alive, or Queens, rather, trying their best to transfuse and keep each other alive. Be very careful right now because Solar, you do not want to allow a single Queen to aggro into these Tempests.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be very careful, very patient with your Queen control here as you do pull back. It looks like so far not a single Queen has gone down. Clutch Transfuse there out of Solar as he does retreat, and I love that Solar, he is not neglecting his ground army. We have Roach Speed on the way and a handful of Roaches as well.
Definitely a little bit suspect here if you're Solar and you see only 2 Tempests out on the map. So I think he's been able to put 2 and 2 together. He's recognized, okay, you are no longer committed to Sky Toss. I'm just going to get a handful of Corruptors to deal with the units you have in the air now, and then everything else is going to be devoted to Ground Zerg. Or to dealing with, to counter Ground Toss.
Exactly. So really good read here from Solar. Just again, the Link Scout does confirm that +1 is on the way, so now he knows fully here that it is going to be Ground Toss, and because that he's just investing a little bit harder into Roaches, into Links. He only has a handful of Roaches, and we have a game.
We have a game. it's going to continue for a little while longer.
I think he's going all in, by the way. He knocks down the rocks. He's pushing right through the center as well. Solar, he's not droning. He's not making any more workers.
Yeah, we have a game, but for how longer? If Solar gets his way, not much longer.
Yes, here we go. He's forcing his way up the ramp. The Cyber Core is going to be focused down. The Overcharge not really going to do much of anything. We've broken into the natural.
Yeah, it was popped prematurely and wasn't very exposed, or rather exposed, shield battery to begin with, so Solar's going to be able to knock on through, bust his way forward, and just keep this going. There are units out on the map right now for Hero. He has Storm available, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough to deal with the onslaught of roaches and raptors.
Again, and this is the danger that you take, the risk that you take when you rush into Skytoss like this and when you don't commit. So many resources were spent onto the Fleet Beacon, onto the Stargate, onto these Tempests, and what did they do? They didn't even kill any Queens, by the way, and with that, Solar's looking to snowball out of control. He's breaking through the main army, he's reinforcing, just rallying everything across the map.
Hero supply continues to dwindle as Solar continues to march his roaches all the way across the map. Hero trying to hang on for as long as he can. But he's got no ranks on the wall.
Yeah, again, the Immortals are being targeted down. We even bile down the ramp as well. There is no escape. The Immortals fall. 14 probes as well. GG gets called, and Solar will tie up the series 1-1.
You know what that means? Not a single series tonight has been yeah, just gonna be refining it. As we conclude the series on Oceanborn, in the bottom right end, we got the Blue Zerg representing the Yankees and Vitality onside. So Solar.
And top left, we do have Hero for Dragon, Kai Z Gaming. Oh boy, it all comes down to this. It all comes down to this final game for the night.
Yeah, for the night, for the evening. Not the tournament, not the qualifiers either. I will say this though, if you want at least one Zerg player to be playing in China, you gotta send your energy over here to Solar. There's one qualifying spot left. And Solar is the one Zerg player remaining in this entire tournament.
Yeah, he is the one and only Zerg player. He needs your energy, he needs your support. I'm torn, right? Like, on the one hand, I would love to see some variety, some diversity here in this tournament. I'd love to see a Zerg player competing. At the same time, though, Hero is the best Protoss in the world, and it would be a shame if he were to fall this early on as well, and it wouldn't be a tournament without a Hero in the main event.
That it really wouldn't. That it really wouldn't. I mean, I want to say that Hero can transfer his energy over to stats or to classic, but then, you know, we have the same dilemma coming out here. Do we want race diversity? Do we want at least one Zerg player in the offline event? Or do we want to see Protoss?
Do we want to see that Protoss? Yeah.
Or do we want to see Bjorn or Cure?
Do you want to see Gumi her papi as
Solar's already qualified.
Yeah, we will see him. We will see him.
We will see him, yeah.
As Solar's going catch gas pool, send that open out of our Zerg player. Likewise, send that open out of our Protoss as well. So we're just kind of easing our way into this here. And yeah, again, I am torn with who will advance on. I mean, I'm going to be happy with either player, but I'm also going to be sad as well, right? Like, it's a little bit bittersweet.
Yeah. Definitely. But that's just how cutthroat it can go, really.
Yeah. That is how competitive it is here in Korea, and we have our tech of choice. It is going to be the Stargate from Hero once again. Shouldn't really be too much of a surprise, and we should not be seeing a Skytoss rush here on Oceanborn. But something I did mention before is that we do have the option to go for these big committed all-ins from the side of the Zerg player, so we'll keep an eye on Solo, we'll keep an eye on his drone count, see how he approaches this as well.
Yeah, so far Solar has gone for 3 base timings, cutting workers at 66 drones, and then just going all in with his Roaches and Ravagers, and occasionally Corruptors and Lings. And would appear that, I mean, I would imagine anyway that the trend will continue tonight. With this final game that we have on our hands.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would expect that as well, as we do see Hero just threatening that natural Oracle production has commenced. And we're still just kind of dancing that, or we're still just having that little dance between our units here. Solar actually going right across the map instead. He does want to try to force a cancel here at the third.
And he has more than enough lings to try to force that, just like so. Solar gonna try to keep this pressure going with even more lings.
Yeah, it does keep that pressure up, does cancel the third base at the same time. Adepts do get in. We do get 3 drone kills. Good damage being dealt here by Hero, but he has to get even more damage done because of that big delay on the third.
Yeah, like this from Sola as well, just forcing a lot of energy out of this Oracle. Sola knows that he won't have to worry too much about Hero reciprocating the damage. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, as we do see Solar once again diving back in. He does get a kill on the Adepts. Could he force another cancel, by the way? Big stasis trap across the map, but it looks like now we have plenty of Oracles, plenty of Engie. Big stasis here at the natural.
And that's definitely one way of getting back from having a third delayed for so long. Solar will eventually recover from this, but in the meantime, yeah, a lot of the rest of his build is going to be delayed. Solar switching things up very hard this time. That is +1 melee that's on the way.
There we go. So it looks like Lingbane Roach Ravager out of Solar. Meanwhile, Hero likewise going for his own Robo follow-up. Additional gateways on the way, +1 and Blink. So both players working towards the mid game. I still like Solar's position a little bit more just because of the cancelled third base, but all these Adepts and the Oracles have potential to deal some economic damage, so Hero can always bounce back.
Indeed, he can. Not a player really getting the edge when it comes to map control just yet. Both players just poking and prodding, trying to force some openings for themselves.
It does force those openings.
This is looking to be probably our most standard game of the evening, you know. Hero going for Blink, Solar going for +1 melee. It's a little bit of a far cry from the earlier Fleet Beacon that we saw on Amphion. A little bit different from the Roach all-in that we saw on Site Delta.
Yeah, instead it's going to be Hero's turn to all-in. Because his third base was delayed, he's going for a big gateway explosion. He did throw down a Prism first, and there it is. There's a 4th gate on the way, so that's going to be 8 gates in total. This looks like a 3-base all-in out of Hero. He has not saturated his gases yet either. This is looking very committed, and we'll see if Solar can hold on. Solar throws down a Spire. This is dangerous, by the way. Solar, if he banks up resources to go into Mutatech, this Blinkstalker army may just kill it.
Indeed, it may. It's gonna be all about how well he's able to time and how well he's able to position these lings as well to really zone away and circle these Blinkstalkers.
Yeah, but the lings are out of position, and again, we have the Prism to reinforce. This is a 3-base all-in from Hero. He does arrive with a massive army as well, and Solar, he's racing back home in there.
Yeah, he needs to at this point. It's all hands on deck. Solar invested a lot in tech. That's not going to pay off just yet. And it looks like Hero's really putting the hurt on him.
Yeah, the lings are melting before this army. The queens are exposed. Another big warpin. Again, it's 8 gates all in here out of Hero. 8 stalkers at a time. The lings are trying to do what they can. The Spire is done, but we cannot afford mutas. Not here, not anymore.
No, not after Solar spent all of his minerals on lings. They're starting to trickle in one by one. He is starting to get a couple of mutas here. Again, Solar is comfortable with sacrificing this 4th base. He knows just how committed and how all-in Heroes being right now, oh, that is not the time to try to go for a counterattack. Solar forced to pull the boys, but it is not going to be enough.
Exactly.
14 mutas on the way.
That's a lot of mutas, but this is also still a lot of stalkers as well. You can see the army trickling in, the queens doing what they can, but they're also running out of energy. They're getting very low as well. It looks like Hero, he just has far too much. GG gets called. The three-way soul in overwhelms, and Hero advances on here into the next round, eliminating Solar from also do remain at least in the Korean region.
All regions, I think, as the other qualifiers wrapped up.
Yes, they have. They have wrapped up. I do know that we had Protosses from Asia. Who made it through in Europe? I mean, Rainer made it through. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Spirit knocked him out.
Yeah.
Spirit knocked him out. He denied us a Zerg player.
There it is. So it isn't just the Korean Zergs that have fallen, but Rainer, a Laser as well. They have fallen. Zero Zerg players in StarsWar 11. It is the new patch. It is the era of Terran and Protoss.
Let's go.
Let us go.
I welcome this.
Again, it is a dark time ahead of us, pun intended. For those that are curious, for those who are maybe a little bit unawares as to, why certain Zerg players weren't a part of this, again, Dark was not a part of this event. A lot of people theorize that it's because of his military service that he won't be able to travel. So Dark was not a part of the qualifier, so he's not a part of the main event.
Yep. Likewise,
Cyril, because he is currently working through his military service, he has been quite public stating that he will be able to be a part of DreamHack Dallas and Gamers 8. But it looks like Cyril has to pick and choose wisely what events he wants to go for, and he won't be able to go to every event. So, he's good for EPT Spring, he's good for Gamers 8, but again, I don't think he was available, or he would have been able to travel for this event either. So Cyril, not a part of StarsWar 11 either.
Yeah. That's like a designation,
yeah.
I believe, in the Finnish military that does allow him to practice a little bit and does allow him to fly and represent Finland in some of these other events, but it's still limited. They're not going to be allowing him to fly out for everything.
Yeah, exactly. So just limited representation from Cyril. And again, we're going to be seeing plenty of Cyril later on in the year, just not in this event. And if you're a fan of Terran and Protoss, we got plenty of Terran and Protoss action available to you in the coming weeks, in the coming StarsWar 11.
Indeed. So stay tuned for that. Our time has come.
Ooh, our time has come.
Our time has come. Embrace our new TVP overlords.
Shaking my head, Bobby. Shaking my head. With that, GG, well played. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Thank you, Yaku, for joining me today as well.
Yes.
Joining me in the cast. Thank you.
'Twas great to be here. Again, new patch. It's always a pleasure to see how players sift their way through and kind of experiment around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of these maps have a lot of potential when it comes to unique builds, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with Sparkling Tuna Cup. Again, the Tuna Cup is going to be returning here tomorrow, and there will also be the StarsWar 11 Day 3 tomorrow after Sparkling Tuna Cup as well.
Indeed, so stick around for those. I'm going to be at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Wait. Yeah, 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. KST, respectively, if I have my math right. It may overlap a little bit, but we'll try to figure something out for that.
For sure. With that, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the support. We're going to be bidding you adieu. Good night. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more StarCraft. Otherwise, we'll see you guys the next time we see you. Hasta luego, papi. Ciao.
Hasta la vista, bella.